NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Boki, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening.
And welcome to NUFC Talk, the early night show with me, Boki, the Mighty Win, and Toon Tina. How are you guys this evening?
Nice try, Boogie.
I tried my best. My teeth came out halfway through.
Yeah,
That's okay. I'll forgive you.
Still recovering after you. Still recovering. It's going to take a while.
It will.
Not good is the answer you're looking for.
Before we get started, can I ask you to whack the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and if you can, please become a member for a small monthly fee. We'll love your chats and we'll try to read out as many as possible. However, the only way to guarantee your chat to be read is to make it a super chat. Please also remember we're on DAB radio across the Newcastle area now, so you can catch one there as well on your way to work. So, are you guys feeling any better now, or is the week getting a bit less painful?
Go on, Tina. I'll let you answer first. I've given my little 2 penneth, but I've got about 4 penneth to come.
I don't know what a penna is, so I hope that's not what I'm doing now. But yeah, no, I mean it's still like we've still been through definitely the worst week in recent history for Newcastle United. I think the international breaks came at a terrible time as well, because it's just kind of given us 3 weeks to dwell on this whole situation, and what was at one point optimism has now turned into a little bit of worry about, where's these points going to come? Because we were looking, I think all of us were looking at the fixture list at one point and thinking, all right, there's 3 points there and there's 3 points there. And then, you get stuffed by Barcelona, you get beat by Sunderland at home, and all of a sudden you're thinking, are we going to get 3 points there? The game that I'm most confident about now is the Arsenal one.
Do you think we're better up against the bigger teams?
Oh, I think she's gone. Oh, she's back, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, the way I look on the Arsenal game now is that in my running predictions, I had Arsenal down as the one defeat. The tough old that task going to the Emirates and getting 3 points. But with the defeat against the unwashed, those 3 points now need to be recovered. And the only place we can recover them is at the Emirates. And wouldn't it be just like the thing for us to go and do that? But Bogi's going to say, no, of course it wouldn't.
Well, I'm not. I'm going to say, is this season not proven that that's not what we do this season? We might go out and get a win. I very much agree with you, is that we might go out and get a win at Arsenal, but the problem is we won't follow it up with other wins in other games. We can go out and get good results. Well, not good results, but we can go out and get results, if you like, but we just can't follow those up game after game after game. There's no consistency to it whatsoever.
And that's been the problem all season, hasn't it? Consistency. And every single time, including Sunday gone, when we're in a position to win a winnable game, an on paper winnable game, and that win would then, jump us 4 or 5 places. Often it's in the past it's been good enough to get into the Champions League 4th or 5th, and that's when we've bottled it. We've had a couple of good results that have got us into the position to get to that fixture, and then when it comes, the players just seem to down tools or whatever. You're mute, Bogie. You're mute.
Sorry, I'm saying, look at the amount of points we've got this season. The points prove that we haven't got that in. Not only do the results prove it, but where we are in the league proves it, and the points. We should be miles better off than this season, guys. We should be miles further up the league. And, I don't want to get on to this again, sort of just calling out anybody, the team or Eddie Howe, but, we have to admit the fact that we should be a lot better off than we are.
I don't think that any supporter would say that this season has fulfilled expectation. I mean, you know, it's crazy, really. You look at our squad, and you are constantly saying to me, "Yeah, you said it was the best squad we ever had." I still think it is because, for example, when before have we ever had two Brazilians international called up by the squad, six players in the England squad, two players in the German squad, and one in the Italian squad? When have they are five of the big global football nations, and our players are in all of their squads.
And do them players
So the
deserve to be?
argument there, absolutely,
So,
Brokey, is
so,
that
so
if
them
we've got the players, why can we not put them together to form a team?
So do them players deserve to be in that squad? They're all good players, and I agree with you 100%. They should all be in that squad. So you two agree with that. So why can't Eddie Howe put a team together out of these six
Well,
English nationals,
well,
two Brazilians, two Germans that we've got in, international football, an Italian? Why isn't he able to make a team around these brilliant players that we've got?
well. That's a as I say, that's a perfectly valid question, because one thing that Eddie, up until this season, has always been capable of is producing a team which is better than the sum of its component parts. He's always managed to take lesser players, for want of a better expression, and mold them into a unit, into a team, into an entity which outperforms what it should be doing. This season, on paper, it would appear to be the reverse has happened. That we've now got but much better players than we had when he came, and yet somehow they are not getting the performances and the results that you would expect a team of that ability to be able to do.
So,
And
Tina,
and,
are
and
we are
so
we seeing that this guy who's been brought in that can develop players, gets them, pushes their careers forward, makes them better players? He can only do it with lesser players. He can't do it with good players. Does that seem to be the essence of
well,
what's actually
well,
being said?
no.
Said
I think
Tina.
what you're saying is absolutely that if you've got a mediocre player, you can. There's more scope, obviously, to turn that mediocre player into a good player, and it's presumably logically more difficult to turn a good player into an elite player, for example. So that's a gradation, which and again it points it gives you massive ammunition to say, right, well, that's as good as Eddie is. He can turn bad players into good players, but he can't turn good players into great players, and that's a valid argument on all the evidence this season.
I hope it
Was
wasn't
my
too
answer
much of
good enough
a
for you there, Borky?
I hope it wasn't too much of a difficulty losing that mop of hair that you've got, Tina. But do you have an actual answer for the question I put to you?
It was. I was going to say I would have got away with that if he hadn't used words that clearly I wasn't going to know.
What
Yeah,
words
no,
did I use?
There was one that I think it began with C, and I heard you say that. And I was like, yeah, ain't nobody believing I've answered that. Was it Crendians
I
or
don't know many
something?
words beginning with C.
It might
I
not
think
have
we should
begun with a
move
C.
on
I
from
mean,
this one,
to be
Kit, because I can think of one. But
So, I mean, no, I don't think it is. I mean, I think he has made certain very mediocre players look world class. I'm not going to name any names because I wouldn't want to call anybody out on national radio. Alexander Isak. But, there are certain players who we've signed who certainly weren't world class any position. Let's just say, for example, striker, before they came to us, weren't getting, let's just say, for example, 19 goals from open play in a season. and then have moved on from our team and have had managers who are supposed to be elite managers at supposedly elite championship teams saying, well, yeah, of course he's not performing this season. We don't have Jacob Murphy. So, I mean, if you can get a player to look so good that people at Liverpool are crying out for Jacob Murphy to come and sign for them, I think that kind of shows a level. And to be fair, like there are certain players who have really shone under Eddie Howe who haven't shone previously to coming to us, but then there are certain players such as Toon Army, Bruno, Botman, Trippier, who came to us with a massive reputation, and have then just kind of, not really dropped off. The only time that we've had this discussion really, well, to my knowledge, is this season, where we have struggled. And I don't know, I think it's deeper than can Eddie Howe produce it, because Eddie Howe's tactics have been, some of the best football I've seen in my lifetime as a Newcastle United supporter for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, this season, I'm watching second half performances and I'm thinking, are we on the shandies at half time? Like, what happened? Where did our world-class team from the first half randomly disappear to in the second half? And that's got to come down to something deeper than tactics. So I don't think you can only develop mediocre players and make them look good. But at the same time, I don't know why it hasn't worked this season, outside of the fact that, you can look at the list of injuries and the fact that maybe Eddie Howe can't handle that extra game in a season with it being Champions League. The 2 seasons that we've underperformed league-wise have been the 2 that we're in Europe.
But part of that is as well that Eddie Howe is paid a fortune to do what he does. He's paid, I believe, £6 million net basic salary, £9 million with bonuses and things. He's not a cheaply paid guy, and if you're saying he can't manage 2 games a week, that's ridiculous for a Premier
I'm
League
not saying he
or
can't.
European
I'm saying he
manager.
hasn't this season.
Well, no, I agree with you, because if you look at it, he can't do it. He hasn't done it this season.
And
So,
to be fair,
how
he's said it this season as well. Like, this isn't a kid. This isn't one of those things where, like, I'm not going to name any names, but sometimes we've got this guy on here who, like, wears a cardigan and he'll just make up random stuff about Eddie Howe. But this isn't one of those occasions. This is legitimately Eddie Howe came out and said, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not getting a lot of time on the training field. It's hard to handle these 2 games every week. So, I mean, he's kind of said it himself. So now we're at kind of a crossroads of, okay, so do we go with point A, which is what a lot of fans are screaming out for, which is, okay, we write him off, he can't do this, let's bring in somebody else? Or do we point B, which is the way that I would look at it, me and my naive little heart of hearts, which is, can he learn to do that? Can he adapt? We ask players to adapt to a new formation. We ask players to adapt to a new team, to a new climate, to a new country. Managers need to be able to adapt as well. So, I mean, do you think it's completely impossible for Eddie Howe to learn how to handle that second game in a week?
how's he adapted so far this season? How has he changed things around? How has he improved?
Well, no, that's
I
what I'm saying.
understand about give somebody time, but what I'm saying is, has he actually improved this season? Is he any better? Has he learned from the games that he's lost in?
Well, this season's the one where I'm saying that we've seen that he needs to learn to adapt. I think up until the start of this, thank you very much for the super chat, Wazza. Not sure we can read that one out on DAB, but no, tonight's show is unfortunately not a phone-in. But, we do have 2 action-packed shows for you. One with me, Borky and Win, and one, I forgot the lineup for the second half. I've bitten off more than I can chew there. But there is definitely... That's the one, Jack Cunningham,
Wayne, and the rest of the lads.
man.
Was that just while I did the super chat? Can I just say, I hope you're feeling a bit better, mate.
Yes, likewise. I was disappointed to hear that you were ill yesterday. I hope you are feeling much better. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. No, I'm there. So you're saying, what has he done to improve this season? Now, this season's the first one that I've seen that would then make the question marks of, okay, this is the issue. We've now identified it. can Eddie Howe adapt to it? So, in regards to what he's done better this season, I mean, it looks as if he's tried to change tactic a little bit. So that, does somebody want to read out who's gifted those 5 subs?
Wow.
Because I'm going to butcher that. But thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for the 5
It's
gifted
Prosaic
subs
5
from
MF has
Prosaic.
gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very, very much, Prosaic. And they have gone to somewhere.
Claggy Steak Bakes, Sky the Bike
Haven't
5860.
come through yet. Here we go. Claggy Steak Bakes, welcome to the club. Sky the Bike. Carlo Hines. Jonathan Major. And JRWS 89. Thank you very much, Prosaic.
Guys who got the free memberships as well, can I just say, watch some of the membership only programs that are out there. They are brilliant, and hopefully if you start watching them, you'll get addicted and want to keep your membership up, because you get a load of great content there. You get especially sort of the player ratings after the game and the Premier League early night show normally during the week. There is real benefits to having that. But anyway, should we? Are you got any
Choppy
stats you want to do? Win?
Choppy 698 is in the house. Hello, Choppy son from Cumbria. Well, it celebrates
Choppy.
13 months of membership. I've heard Eddie wants a fight with me.
I don't know, that sounds like something that might have been recorded by Richard Keys.
Thick and fast. Thank you, Sam Campbell, for your super chat. Met Mad Dog at Celtic away, and he said they are tired. Well, there you go.
Funny, because we're tired of them as well, so it's like a dual thing.
I mean,
so guys, anyway, go on, Win.
I'm just going to say, the question that started that round off, the little session off there with Tina was, Tina said, can he learn, can he improve? And you said, the evidence this season suggests that he can't, because it's as everybody keeps pointing out on the show from time to time, it's the old Einstein quotation, isn't it? He keeps on conducting the same experiment with the same ingredients and expecting the result to turn out different. That I haven't seen, and Tina, you can maybe tell me if you have.
Tina,
I haven't seen any change in basic playing style philosophy. That he has gone with 4-3-3, which he argues can be, and we've seen it goes into 4-5-1. There's no doubt about that. That's visual, lines every single game you watch. But that's it. And when you're doing that, what you're doing, in my opinion, and I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong to do it, but you're relying on players actually performing. And on the days that the players perform, it works a treat. On the days that it doesn't, that's when you need the manager, I think, to be able to say, right, well, they're off the boil today. Let's tweak it and try something else. And I honestly, and you know how much I love Eddie, I seriously haven't seen any evidence of that happening, which is a worry.
Just to double down on that,
the same applies to the criticism that you had of him not being able to cope with 2 games a week. And it goes back to the improving of players. Does he need a week on the training ground to work his magic on all these players that he has done in the past? And if that's the case, is he the man to take us forward? Because we want to be a club who's playing 2 games a week every week in Europe.
Just to double down on that, do you think part of the problem is as well that he didn't integrate the new players properly at the start of the season? I think we'll all agree with that. They didn't get the game time. We were sitting there, I was saying rotate, rotate, rotate at the start of the season, and he didn't. Do you think now that he's starting to have to rely on those players, so rely on the likes of a Ramsey, rely on likes of a Willock, rely on likes of a Bonds, that he's beginning to realise that they think it's probably a subconscious thing. It's not something the players are doing on purpose. But do you think some of them players are thinking, hang on, you didn't pick me at the start, you wouldn't even give us the lickings of a dog on the pitch, yet now you're expecting me to go out and give 100% in every game?
In all honesty, no. I don't think. Does somebody want to do the super chat before I start? Because otherwise, I'm just going to get distracted and you're just going to have to pick up the loose ends of what I
Mickey
stopped
Toon
saying.
Army. Thank you, Mickey. Saying we signed better players when we were bottom of the league. Explain that. Well, I think
Can't
there's
explain that.
there's two
Oh, sorry, go on.
explanations. Two explanations for that. The first is that when we were bottom of the league at the time you're talking about, when we did sign the players, that was immediately post takeover. So the buzz and the euphoria around all of that, and the project and the noises that Amanda was making at the time. And there's another key element, by the way, Amanda,
She was
who's
going to be
not-
my answer, to be fair.
who's not there now. Oh, well, go on. I'll let you take the Amanda button.
No, I mean, she was my whole point, is that when we did sign these players, Amanda Staveley had just finally got her hands on the club that she'd been trying to build a consortium to buy for something like 4 years. And she was spearheading a project that I think sounded so exciting that we're still feeling the vibrations of it to this very day. So she was selling the idea to all these players, and she had this positive attitude. She was bringing in a manager who she trusted. She was selling an idea. She was almost like Kevin Keegan selling the club to these players, and bringing in like all of these big names who all came. Oh yeah, I believe in the project. We haven't heard that since Amanda left, unfortunately.
So just to quickly pick you up on that point then, in regards to Amanda, where you say she was the spearhead of the club and everything, and I completely agree. She was obviously a force of nature. However, in regards to Eddie Howe, why hasn't he carried that baton on? He's the manager. He's the one who should be, exactly the same as that. He should want the best for the club. Why hasn't he carried on the baton of the person who came in at first?
Because that's not his job. His job is to coach the players and manage the team. And the turmoil in the back room since Amanda went has been farcical, really. I mean, she brought in Dan Ashworth, who was doing a good job, and then Ashworth decided he wanted to go to Man U, Star Spangled Banner and all that. So he left. Then they appointed disaster, and this coincided as well, by the way, with Amanda having to leave for a variety of reasons that we don't need to go into. But it just left a complete vacuum at the top. They brought Darren Eales in, who, like the current CEO, came in and, said all the right things, da-di-da-di-da. But where is the actual action?
But can we get
And then
back to
that's
the
it.
point? Can we not go down? We know there's issues with the way the club's being run. We all know that there's slight issues
Can
with
we
that
actually just read
in
this
the
super
past.
chat
But
first?
can we go down the route of actually discussing what's happening on the pitch rather than using the back room as an excuse? Sorry, yeah, you can do the super chat. Sorry, that was me.
Yeah,
Well,
so there's a super chat.
This
Go
is
on.
something we're going to come on to later, but the players got a lap of honour after the dog. I don't know about got a lap of honour, Sam. But we may as well we'll talk about this now since it's come up. Where do you stand now on this lap of shame business? Lap of honour, as Sam calls it. I call it a lap of shame, and to me it was just asking for trouble. Now that could be a managerial decision, saying, "Look, you're going to go out there now and face the music." To maybe try and get a message through to them. But where do you stand on it?
I don't think they could win because, the sort of, well, they couldn't win, could they? Let's be honest, they lost on the day. But no, but with the lap on, I don't think it was a point that they could have won with. In regards to if they'd went out and bottled it and just went in the changing room, everybody would have went. They should have went around and at least applauded the fans. The least they should have done was went round and applaud the fans, and then they did do it, and it's that was embarrassing because everybody was leaving, everyone was mucked off, they were walking out the ground. There was
A lot
nobody
of
applauding
booing.
back, so a lot of booing. But I think it's a no-win. If we're going to
It
go down the
actually
route of
created.
as we've done, going down the route of trying to be this, this club that includes the fans and everything, which is great. We've all loved it, but you've got to accept when things go wrong, it's not going to have a great look about it.
Thank you very much for the
Was,
super chat, was
was
that?
that was that yet another one we can't read?
No, that one's not bad, surely.
Well, go on.
I mean, I probably shouldn't be the one to read. So it says,
So
Tina,
what
you're
is
my
it?
Amanda.
Go on.
Good vibrations and expectations.
Since you joined the channel, I think he would have put on the end if he'd had a little bit more space.
Run out letters. Happens to me a lot.
Yeah, what do you think about the lapse of honour or lapse of shame, as I would call it?
So I mean, I did a little walk for charity on Tuesday, and there was a couple of lads who were with us who had been to the game. Thanks. And 21,000
Hang on, Tina.
steps.
Just on. I was going to say, how many steps did you do?
21,700.
Oh, very
Well
good.
done.
So my feet are still hurting now, to be honest with you. But I
I
was
think
there with a
that's more
couple
than
of.
Dan Burn did during the game.
I think it was about double what he did during the game, to be fair. But no, I'm not. But let's not say that on national radio in case he comes to Chinners. He apparently lives around here. So, but no, I was with a couple of the guys who were at the game, and I was listening to them. So I did plug the channel very strongly because I was like, lads, I've just listened to this conversation. Everything that you're saying here is the exact same discussion that you can tune into every night on NUFC Talk TV. So I'm hoping that they're going to tune in. Maybe they're watching at the moment. But a couple of them were at the game, and they said almost exactly what Bogi's just said there. So they think it was a terrible decision for the players to do a lap of honour, but he understood exactly why they did it. Because how could you not? You couldn't have that and then not come out and applaud the fans, because then it looks like your bottle jobs. But then you come out and applaud the fans, you just get booed. Stand and then there's another good little super chat there, fantastic super chat from Sam Campbell again. Thank you very much for your super chat there, Sam. Saying thank you to War Flags, by the way, and then a black heart and a white heart. And yeah, that War Flags tribute at the weekend was absolutely amazing.
Can I just quickly pick up on that, because they said that 400 hours had went into doing that flag display. The lads and lasses that did that deserve so much more from that game. They show the passion that you'd want from the players on the pitch. Before the game, they got everybody up. It was amazing. War Flags, absolutely amazing every week. And if you can contribute a little bit towards them, do so, because they'd get the team up every single game.
They do indeed.
They do.
The only, my one super negative take from the lap of shame is that around me in the East Stand, and I filmed it all and you can hear it on the soundtrack, there were multiple altercations caused between fans that were walking out booing and being told by other fans not to boo. You don't have to clap, but don't boo. But when your own team, all of these arguments, which I neither agree or disagree with, that's it. To me, you paid your money to go in, you can do what you want to do. But it resulted in lots of, I'm talking about fiery arguments between who you telling not to, all of the, my dad's bigger than your dad stuff. And that wouldn't have happened if they hadn't done the lap of shame.
Do you think rather than the players go round and do that, let the players go back in the dressing room? If Eddie Howe just went round with like a solitary face, showing that he was upset, and just waving at the fans, going, "Look, I'm sorry that this is down to me." So rather than sending the whole lot of the players round the pitch, which, as you say, looks like a lap of honour, the manager just does a quick walk around and goes, or even just walks out in the middle of the pitch and just goes, "Look, I'm sorry that this was down to me. Sorry." You think that would have been a better look than having, as I say, like a look of a lap of honour? Because it
Well,
automatically is called a lap of honour, and
well,
it doesn't
but the
look
point
great.
is, Eddie was front and centre there, by the way.
I'm not saying he wasn't there, but what I'm saying is, would it have been a better
He
look
was
for them
there,
not to
front and
have?
centre.
But I'm saying, would
So
it have been a better look for them not to have sort of a lap of honour? Because that's automatically what them things are called. Would it have been a better look just for the manager to go out and just applaud the fans and just go, "This one's on me," sort of thing?
Yeah.
that might have been
I
good.
did.
Sorry,
Go on.
if you had something else to say on that, because I'm slightly going to change the subject. So there has been reports, it was mentioned in chat, and it is in our live updates as well, in regards to Adidas apparently considering dropping us. Have either of you heard anything about that? Because it was mentioned in a chat a little while ago. Like I said, there's a bit of a report on the live news updates there.
Well, it's a 5-year contract that was signed with Adidas. I know that, but the payments are dependent on if we're in the Champions League, we get more money than we do if we're in the Europa, etc., etc. That was when the contract was agreed. That was what was reported at the time. The 25 million a year plus shirt sales and stuff like that. So, it's completely understandable. But if you're advertising with a brand that's got international recognition via the Champions League, and then all of a sudden you haven't.
But no, I think the reports are saying that if we don't finish in Europe this season, Adidas have obviously got caveats in the contract,
Could have.
so there'll be massive drops in revenue from them, because obviously, well, they will have, because they're a clever firm. What basically seems to be the report is that if we're not in Europe, our sponsorship drops absolutely astronomically from what it is now. So we'll lose a fortune in regards to how much it's the Times reporting it. If you want to have a look it up. But it looks like if we do, and thank you very much, Connor, for putting this through, where we'll have like a chat where we'll discuss things like this. If we lose this money, then that's a massive blow for the club. Absolutely massive. And Winwood did have a super chat, I believe, from Wazza, that went
Yeah,
through.
it had me confused. Is it is that Eddie Howe? Two men.
And Eddie
Eddie
Howe,
Howe.
we're
I
finished.
think that's
We're
aimed
finished.
at
That
me
didn't last
because I
long.
went walking with two guys from the stadium. I think it's just was I being
Oh, right.
If that's what the case was, please correct.
We're finished. Didn't last
Can I
long.
just point out there was also a full group of people with me, including about 6 lasses. So it wasn't just I wasn't just randomly doing 21,000 steps with two guys. But yeah.
Well, there you go. But your mind should be put at rest, was that so?
So do you think that would be an absolute disaster if we lost Addy? Well, we're not going to lose them as a sponsor, but we lose the amount of money they have been putting into it. If they've got some sort of cap, because they'll still take the money. Let's face it, they'll still go in and get that money off Newcastle from the shirt sales and things.
Yeah,
because they'll want to keep their commercial revenue up. It'll be us that take the massive hit.
Yeah, well, the first proper strip that Adidas brought out, they were absolutely staggered by the demand. They had all their factories going double time and couldn't keep up with, the club ran out, and that kind of blew Adidas. Oh, look at this, Chris the Magpie celebrates 17 months of membership. But Wynn doesn't care, nothing bothers him. We are sinking, and we got 7 games left. Season's not finished yet.
And then the last bit will not read out on live radio. But yeah, but that's the thing with this though. So obviously, I've not seen the actual contract stipulations, which I'm hoping one of you two are frantically looking up as we speak. But if there's one fan base who Adidas are it's probably worth staying invested in, even if Newcastle don't make it to Europe. And I know that Adidas want to be associated with the top teams, but let's be honest, there are lower teams than us who they've got, who they're making kits for. But the Newcastle United fans, no matter what you release, you could release that. What was it? I think it was the season that Kenny Dalglish was manager. You had the shirt with the Adidas and the Newcastle badge in a straight line, and you had the shield on the back with Newcastle United scroll along the bottom. Release that as a retro t-shirt. I guarantee you 50,000, 100,000 people will buy that within a week of it coming out. You release the training tops from the season after the one that they released this season, I guarantee you 100,000 people will buy it.
You're 100% right there, but the problem is Adidas will take the problem is that Adidas will take the majority of the money from that now. So Adidas looks like they've got a commitment in place with Newcastle in regards to, you know, them paying them so much each season to be able to do this. So if we release the shirts, yes, we'll get a smaller percentage of it, but we won't get the percentage we've got this season because the whole contract seems to be based around us getting European football and us progressing as a club. So Adidas will still release the shirts because they'll still sponsor us. There's no issue with them. It's actually better for them. Basically, what it's saying is Adidas will keep more of the money because we've not got into Europe, which is part of the contract that we've signed with them.
Well, it's part of the bonuses within the contract.
They pay us based on where we are, and they'll pay us more if we're in Europe than if we're out of Europe. So it's a performance-based contract, and if we fail, we're knackered.
Well,
Adidas says, Mike Ashley 2.0 says Sam.
Thank you again for the super chat.
The other thing about Adidas
you can't blame Adidas for this. They're a commercial company. They've set a contract up with Newcastle United. The only person you can blame is Newcastle United because we're failing this season, and Adidas have obviously as a commercial company put that into the contract that if that happens, they don't take the hit.
So
but with regard to actual merchandise sales, any garments, any merchandise which are sold through the club's own website and stores, the club get a massively higher percentage of the revenue than the stuff that's sold in Adidas stores online. So that's just a thing. But by the way, anybody who's talking about buying gear, get it through the same price, and get it through the club sources, not through Adidas, because that gives more of the money to the club. But I think you're interested in doing.
But obviously, Adidas pay the club to be able to do that, and I think the big point is the percentages that the club get are going to drop.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the big issue. So that means less commercial revenue. You know, we still haven't got a trading ground sponsor. We still haven't got a new training ground, to be perfectly honest. We still haven't got training kit sponsors or anything like that. If we take another financial hit, that's just less money for what to spend on this summer that we're talking about having to do a full rebuild.
So I'm usually the shrinking violet of this group, of this channel. I'm not usually the one who's like very demanding with questions, but I do have some very pertinent questions about this, if you don't mind, which is one, that revenue that they're going to take out of the club, does that get factored in to the PSR/CSR? No, that's a good thing. Question number 2 though.
No, it's not a good thing. It means we don't get that revenue, so we don't have that money on top
what I'm
of
saying
what we could have spent.
It is factored into it insofar
so it's
that
factored
we'll have
into
less.
that maths.
Yes.
Right. So that will affect us PSR wise.
Correct.
Yeah, it'll affect it is that we can't spend as much.
Right, okay, that's a bad thing. So my second question, and probably just as important as that, when Hopkinson came and took over this, before we came out there before that European game and said we've got no goals for this season, did he know about that contract? Surely he knew that stipulation when he came out and said we are not setting a goal for this season. Because all of a sudden, what I've been saying all year of, okay, this is a transitional period where, we're learning our limitations, we can build from this. All of a sudden, the shine's taken off that somewhat. If in the background the whole time Adidas have been saying, oh, by the way, if you don't finish in the top 7, we're going to take half your revenue off you. Like, surely that then kind of adds an urgency somewhat to the situation. Am I the only one who's saying this?
Well, no, Shamrock Bulls is got it in a nutshell here. Champions League is never guaranteed. All parties would know this. It probably just means that we won't get as much off Adidas this season as last. The contract's 5 years. That's absolutely what I'm saying. And yes, you're right.
But that's a massive issue. That's an absolute massive issue.
Well, I don't know the details. I don't know what the percentage of it is.
But Adidas are the massive sponsor of the club. You've got to say that if we start, and this is part of the problem as well with accepting mediocrity and accepting failure. Basically, you do start to lose sponsorship. So if we're not in the Champions League next year, we can't get the sponsorship that we would have got for the training ground. If we're not in the Champions League next year, you can't get that sponsorship you would have got for the training tops. This is where you guys accepting failure means that we'll have failure in further seasons because we're not going to have that revenue available to us that we could have had.
Well, hold on. Let's add a little bit of truth to that.
Hang on. There's a difference between accepting failure, accepting mediocrity, as you've just put it, and not expecting Champions League. I don't expect. I would love Champions League, and I hope we can still get it. But the fact that we don't get Champions League is not failure.
Well,
it's not mediocrity.
It's failure on the pitch, and as this has proven, it's failure finance-wise.
It's not failure at all.
So not only do you miss out on, well, it is failure because we've got no chance of winning anything now. We're going to have it's a dead season to win now, really. But it also has an effect on next season in that we don't get that revenue in.
Obviously.
But only based on the Adidas contract that we would have also had happen last season. I think we need to put some slight truth to the fact that you've just said that it would affect the sponsors for the training ground and the training kit. That wouldn't be affected by this. It may make us less attractive to potential investors, but it wouldn't put the kibosh on that. Let's be a little bit realistic.
If somebody's telling me that Adidas are going to drop from 25 million a year to 2 million a year because we didn't get Champions League, fair enough. That's disaster.
But
I believe it'll be far more likely to drop from 25 to 20.
But win, how much is that a year in regards to how much we could have spent on players?
You probably talking.
You probably no a year. Come on, you do the maths normally.
5 million.
But over
the current contract is 25 million.
No. But I'm saying, if you use that over the period that you can buy a player for, so how much you can spend on a player based on how much money you've got, it's more than 5 million. It's a bit like if you sell a player,
you 25 million on the price of a player. If you amortize it over 5 years.
So exactly. So you're losing a £25 million player.
But you're paying £5 million the following seasons anyway. So
you're paying £5 million for what?
For the amortization, which comes out of the Adidas money that you're getting the following season.
You're expecting to get back into the Champions League the next year, even though we haven't got the money to buy the players.
I'm not expecting anything. No, you're the one that's doing the expecting.
But no, I can't explain this to you. But in regards to this, if you lose this money, you're losing the amortization over the 5 years. So you're losing the money that we could have had to buy players over the next 5 years. So it has a hell of an impact on everything. And sitting here and trying to justify, you're trying to justify a bad season and trying to justify the fact that we're going to lose money to be able to get the team that we need to do.
Who's trying to justify a bad season?
So there's no justification for this season, in which case, what you're saying?
I'm saying there's very little justification for performances this season.
No, I've never said there was a justification.
There are a lot of myriad.
Come on, give us the mitigation. Go on and give us the mitigation. Why?
You've only got to go back to the start. the transfer window was a disaster, and
No,
that's
no,
what
no, no,
set-
no, no,
that's
no,
what
no, no,
sets
no.
you up for the season.
No, I'm saying this season. Forget about the transfer window. We had the players we had at
But
the
you
start
can't
of
you
the
can't
season.
talk about
You,
this season
you,
and
we
forget
had the
about the
players.
transfer window.
We had the players we had at the start of the season. You came out and said this transfer window blew your flock up, and
No, I
this
didn't.
was the best. This was the best squad we'd ever had.
I
So
said
justify this season.
I said it had resulted in us having the best squad we've ever had. Correct,
So
because
justify this
purely
season.
and
Then.
simply,
So hang on. If this is the
we've
best
got
squad we've
Ramsdale
ever had,
instead of Vladivostok. We've got Ramsey instead of Longstaff. We've got Voldemort and Wissa instead of Isaac and Wilson, and we got Alanga instead of Almiron. That to me was
well done.
improvements all
You
the
know
way
what?
along the line.
Well done. It's improved throughout the line. You know what happened. So how's this season justifiable where we're in the league? How's it
Nobody's saying
justifiable
it.
being
Nobody's
12?
saying it's
How's it
justifiable.
So you're saying it's not justifiable? You're saying this is a disaster of a season? It's a terrible season?
It is a disaster of a season.
Excellent. Right. So should we move on a little bit anyway? Because we can keep on this all night, basically, couldn't we? But should we move on to
Does
talking
anything
maybe
you say
through...
ever have a point besides trying to be proven right, Brokey? Just out of sheer morbid curiosity.
I just like being right, basically, and it's quite easy.
So
Yeah,
no.
you know what?
Right,
It's
let's
quite
move
easy
on
thing to
then.
do.
So what's
So,
the next
should we-
point?
Should we talk through the players and see who we would keep and have a little look at the rumours that are going round about who we could get in each position and say when Tina's now the CEO, Wynn's director of football, and I'm the manager, who we would bring in and what we would do with the squad.
I'm the
So we'll
CEO,
start with-
you're both sacked. Go and wash me car, the two of yous.
What?
Get out there now with a sponge.
Watch
So we start
this
with
space. Watch
Yeah,
this space. We'll be back after.
NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Boki, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
There we go. So, what have we got a quick super chat in here from
We've got a
Becca.
fantastic super
When
chat
you-
actually from
While you
Becca.
bring the super chat up after the break, can we just ask everyone still to be whacking those likes? You
Yeah,
really
hit the
help
likes.
out with the channel.
200
Subscribe
watching
if
now.
you're new. Yep, subscribe if you're new, and if you really can become a member, it really does help. Thank you very much for the new super chat, Win.
So, brilliant question from Becca. Can I ask each of you what you think Eddie's best and worst managerial qualities are?
Fantastic question, Becca.
Who's
Go on,
gonna
and you can go first. Steal all my thunder.
Who, me?
Yeah, go on.
I've dropped myself in it there, haven't I?
You're the CEO now.
You're the
I'm the
CEO.
CEO, so I'll answer first. Best quality of Eddie Howe would definitely be. I would say, this season's really changed my opinion on that, because if you asked us this last season, that I've said his ability to bring on players and turn them into things that you wouldn't expect from them. And this season, that shine's kind of taken off. I think Eddie Howe's best quality is his level-headedness. I think that there's certain. I know that there's a lot of fans who would prefer like roaring passion, like you get from an Arteta or a Keegan or I had a manager on the tip of my tongue there before I started down this. Who is it that I'm thinking of? Arteta, Keegan. Like the type of manager who would come out and F and blind and be really Jose Mourinho, that's who I was thinking of. I can't believe I forgot Jose. He's definitely going to come to Newcastle now that I forgot his name. I think, and there is something to be said for that, but there is also something to be said for not giving people sound bites and for having a bit of calmness and keeping a little bit of togetherness. I think he's built a good group of players who really get along. And up until this season, his tactics have been some of the most exciting that I've seen. His worst quality is absolutely he needs more time on the training field by the looks of it than other managers on a level playing field. like other managers, if you consider us like a say for example top 6 challengers, there are other managers who have to deal with that little time on the training field who see to do it better than he does. At present moment. There is another super chat. I think I've missed
There's
two
a few
actually.
super chats there. Win, explain what Russian cake is to Lee, please. Who's Lee and what's Russian cake?
I can
Lee'll
explain
be
Russian
Lee
cake. I can
Thompson.
actually explain this one where
Oh,
when
well, there you go.
Russian cake at the end of the day in a baker's shop around the northeast, if cake was beginning to go off, the baker would soak it in rum and then like all the old cake, soak them in rum, merge them together, put a topping on them, an icing topping on them, and sell them the next day as Russian cake. I don't know why it actually got called Russian cake.
Can I ask, is that what our players have been eating at half time
sounds
this
good.
season?
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful if you ever have it. Absolutely gorgeous.
And there's Jeff Owen. Good old Jeff O. Lord Bogey, strong with the dark side. Eddie out. Why
Try me
does
best,
that not
try me
surprise
best.
me, Jeff O?
I'm Jefferson out,
What?
me like.
Come on, then win. What was your answer to Becca's question?
Well, without doubt, player improvement and player involvement. I'll never forget when he did the high performance interview, which if you haven't watched that when he first came, it's a must watch really. And you know, things that he does, like getting to know not just the players but the home situations to see in case that can be affecting anything on the pitch. Gets to know their wives' names, their children's names, and he invests his time in the players, and his whole raison d'etre is to improve players. Now, as Tina has rightly said, the longer you can spend with them on the training pitch, the more they're likely to improve, the better they're going to become. And this season, maybe concurrent with the fact that we've had, 5 brand new imports, and they've all got to get to know everybody, and he's got to get to know them. Everything that goes with that. We've had a few births arriving on the scene, which are going to affect matters. But I think that's one of his greatest strengths for me, is engendering that family spirit, team spirit that stood us in such good stead in the past. Now, you can argue, I suppose, when you get to that next level, which is where we are on the sort of verge of getting, should that all take a back seat and everybody become far more professional and detached and less involved with all of that? I don't think Eddie's capable of doing that, because I just think that's the sort of person that he is. And so again, it begs the question, can he do that? Can he, for example, take a group of already quality players, and by all accounts, we would appear to have a team of already quality players by virtue of the fact, as we said earlier on, that we've got 6 in the England squad, 2 in the German squad, 2 in the Brazil squad, 1 in the Italian squad. We've obviously got good players, and this season he's managed to turn good players into a mediocre team. Can he take good players and blend them with a bit of ruthlessness, a bit of bait, a bit of something that we haven't seen yet? The evidence of this season is that he can't. So that's his, worst quality. And of course, his in-game management and rigidity to his tactical system. But off the pitch, second to none, in my opinion.
Just before Boki answers as well, though, there is a super chat that I would like to add to my answer of the best thing that Eddie Howe's done, which is, again, from Sam Campbell. Thank you very much for the super chat, Sam. Eddie's took us from relegation to last 16 of Champions League. And I think a lot of fans this season are overlooking that somewhat. So yeah, I've given that a like myself, and I do still echo that sentiment. But Mr. Borky, would you like to answer the question from earlier on?
Of course I would. Eddie Howe's been a great manager. He is a good manager. He's a good middle of the table Premier League manager. He's solid. You know, he gives you that base. And that's exactly what he's done for us. He's give with that base and he's set up. But he's not the guy to take you to the next levels, the negative. You know, he hasn't got that in him to, as you have said, to manage 2 games a week, to be, the guy that takes you on from that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all worked, we're all in work. And you look at yourself, and sometimes you look at your manager or your manager's manager and think, could I do their job? And you probably think to yourself, no, I couldn't. And that's the same way Eddie. He's got because he's a middle of the road Premier League manager. He's got to a level, and he's done really well. He's won World Cup. He's been fantastic. But now it's time to say sorry. But you've got to a level. We need somebody new. We need somebody different. We need somebody with new vision. We need somebody who's better. And that's a horrible thing to say, but you can get better with better managers in life. And that's where we're at now. We need somebody who's better than Eddie Howe.
I mean, there is somebody who's chasing you up in chat, Bogey. There has been and I don't know.
Always chases up on chat.
Well, there's one who's been saying, trying to get the same answer from you. He's been asking you the same question since the start of the show, which I'm not sure. I'm sure I've asked you this before, and I'm sure you've given us a couple of answers. But he's demanding to know who this better manager is, who you would put in place of Eddie Howe.
Said this the other night. I'm not the right person to choose the next manager.
I mean, Niall has said that, to be fair.
No. All I would say is there are better people out there in the club, hopefully, to choose a new manager. That's why we've got a board and things together. If you want my opinion,
wait, is this my job now? Right. I'm CEO.
Well, if you want a Fabregas, or if you're not a Fabregas, a Mourinho type of character. I said
did you not say Southgate at one point?
I would choose Southgate over Eddie Howe 100%. Southgate's been a lot more successful than Eddie Howe.
I have to backtrack from there. I cannot believe you've said that on national radio, Boki.
I cannot believe you've doubled down on that one.
That's shambolic from him right there.
So hang on. What Southgate's got to World Cup and to European League final stages. Eddie Howe's won a third-rate competition in Newcastle. In England. Who's actually done better with their career?
You could argue that Eddie Howe has done this season with Newcastle what Southgate did for whatever three seasons.
Would deflect in any way. Would deflect in any way. Let's keep this about Newcastle.
With the quality at his disposal, he completely underachieved. And I would argue that Eddie has underachieved this season. Given the...
That's for me, tell him I'm out.
The players he's got available. And Southgate has done that constantly. Absolutely constantly. But Bevis is saying PIF's £700 million took us from relegation to the Champions League. How just helped. And certainly the £700 million did help. Let's have a look at some super chats. Some of the star comments we've got here. It's a Bevis again saying Eddie Howe's signings are all crap. He's been forced to try and throw Voldemort down the well and point away at him, probably because Nixon wanted him. And then he's been contradicted by Michael, who says, really? Bruno, Tonali, Botman, Chow, Gordon, Isaac, Barnes. He's had one poor window when the executives above him couldn't get the first choice signings of Ekitike, Pedro, Shesko, and Buemo, etc. over the line, which is my point exactly.
I mean, that's a very fair point.
Travoy is saying, Bogey, is there any truth to if we don't qualify for any European football, will mean Adidas will pull out a sponsorship? No, Adidas have got a 5-year deal.
No, but there is a good chance that the money will go down from what we have been getting this season because they're having Champions League footing.
There's a certainty the money will go down. Win, he's not an elite manager, and we all know that. So when you cannot take a team to the next level, time is up. And David Spence is saying, no, he can't change. He does things he likes to do. It doesn't work. It's failing us big time. I say it again, putting our top striker in midfield does not benefit Nick. It's a waste of his talent, and it's a shame, really. The
other
idea what we've got so far.
Cool. Anyway, I understand how Gary gets frustrated with us guys because we've managed to get through most of the show without actually discussing what we're going to discuss. So you can see why the yam gets annoyed with weird times, and just to see he's off for the rest of the week just for family reasons. So he's everything's fine. It's just
shout out to the Geordie Yam.
Yeah,
Shout out
he needs a little bit of
Gary.
time away. So anyway, should we talk a little bit about this summer transfer window and the players we've got and who are rumoured to be coming in and who we would potentially get rid of? So in regards to goalkeepers, we'll start with, which should be quite quick. I mean, we'll forget about the old guy, Ruddy and Gillespie, because potentially they'll be here forever, just claiming a wage.
I'll not have a bad word said against Ruddy. But you weren't expecting that there, were you? No, I was joking. Let's move on for Ruddy.
But would you guys, firstly, would you guys keep Ramsdale? Would you guys keep Pope? And would you look to bring, I believe the biggest one at the minute is Trafford in? Would he be your choice for the new goalkeeper?
Well, I would absolutely keep Ramsdale.
I would definitely keep. If I was getting rid of one of the two, it would be Pope and not Ramsdale. I mean, the current England squad can get him for 16 million. For me, it's a no-brainer, really is.
And you would pay him the 120 grand a week he's on?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
absolutely. What better goalkeeper are you going to get for 16 million on less than 120 grand a week?
So do we keep hold of them two, or do we get rid of one of them and bring in a new goalkeeper? What would your feelings be on that?
Well, I would definitely get rid of Pope. And I know there's a lot of people who think Pope's a better keeper still think Pope is a better keeper than...
Well, I used to think that, to be fair. I was adamant that Nick Pope was, although his distribution was always, how can I put this politely, sus. Let's just use the word sus. Let's not, throw expletives on national radio. But yeah, I always did think that Nick Pope was the better shot stopper. I've changed my mind on that. I think Ramsdale is a more complete package as a goalkeeper. I think if we were to sign Trafford, I think that's fair competition for Ramsdale. I wouldn't see Trafford as a massive step up. Like if we're looking for a goalkeeper to say, okay, he's the number one without question, I think there's potentially better goalkeepers out there than Trafford. I would absolutely still take Trafford though, and I would have him and Ramsdale as our number one and number two goalkeeper. Because you've got to think next season, like not this next season coming, but the season after that, we're probably going to be back in some sort of European competition. You're going to need two world-class goalkeepers.
And have we heard any rumours of any other goalkeepers coming, or is it just Trafford at the minute?
According to Sasha Tavioleri, Lens goalkeeper Robin Rissa is Newcastle have made a move for him, according to him. The club currently 9th in the Premier League are determined, so it's obviously done before the weekend, are determined to upgrade between posts this summer, and the 21-year-old Frenchman ticks every box for Eddie Howe's staff. 6'4" Rissa is commanding in the air, but it's his composure with the ball at his feet that has particularly impressed Newcastle. With Lens likely to qualify for Champions League this season, it'll be an uphill battle. but he sits high on a short list of Newcastle's targets. But Tottenham are also interested in finding a replacement for Bakary, so it could be a tug of love between Tottenham and the Trafford business continues to drone along in the
Rumble.
background.
The chat aren't into either goalkeepers, by the way. Like, neither of them are getting a good rep in chat. Chat's pretty convinced it's time to get rid of both Pope and Ramsdale.
Do you want me
they're
to
not
be? Do you
looking
want me to
for-
be? Do you want me to be honest about this? See, this summer, we're going to go through the rest of the team, so it's going to become apparent. But there's such a rebuild to do. I just think you've got two easy answers there that'll get you through next season, no matter what. So we're going to have to look for players in other positions, and it's going to be such a big rebuild this season. I think the two goalkeepers are the ones that you can just get sorted out like that at the start of the transfer window. And yes, neither of them
We're
are
sorted
brilliant.
out like that in terms of just keep Pope and
Just
Ramsdale.
stay with the status quo.
Yeah.
I didn't, because
I've said for the last three
there's bigger
windows.
fish to fry.
Exactly. That's what I've said for the past 3 windows.
Who in the band status quo plays in goal? And plus, are they not all a bit old now?
Well, I think that's where we're moving on to, where it is.
Called Rossi, wasn't there? Yeah, but
It was, yeah.
So
Was it Rossi?
I'm sure it was Rossi.
Right, it was, yeah.
But
So
he
that's
didn't-
that's my read.
We're 24 minutes, so should we...
He wasn't the lead singer in Status Quo, though.
That's my real reason is it's the goalkeeping situation. I don't think that's the biggest issue this summer. I think yes, we all know we need a better keeper, but I don't think we can particularly do everything we need this window.
Yeah.
So but you guys in the chat are completely disagreeing and saying we need a new keeper. I can't really argue with you. It's just I'm looking at it from both sides of the coin.
Chat's
So,
bulky out now, like.
Anything else to say about the goalkeeper? So we'll move on to the defence. What we need in defence.
Should move on because we've got 23 minutes left to get through the rest of
Right,
this
so
team.
we've
And
got
you've just said there's a full rebuild.
Let's say, I don't know, split the difference. Say 75. If you got off at £75 million for Tino, would you take it?
I would drive him there.
I would help him in a bogey's car. He's not sold himself to me this season. I love him as a player when his head's in it.
I'd probably pay for
the
the petrol, to be fair. And
Nice,
again, I love Tino, but if we could get somewhere north of 70 million for him, I would have said 100 million 3 months ago. But yet another injury, and his injury history is such that if you could get that sort of money, that there's got to be an adequate, shall we say, replacement. He might not quite be as good with the ball going forward, or nimble on his feet, but he'd probably be a better defender, because we saw yet again in the week of shame that we've just had, Tino was far from blameless in both games. Having said that, he didn't start either of them. But you can argue that Barcelona were only getting beat 3-2 when he came on, and we ended up getting beat 4-0.
Do you think he'll go to another Premier League team, or do you think we can try to get him abroad? 'Cause that's a perfect scenario, isn't it? If you're going to sell players, you get them away from the Premier League.
Well, no, the ideal situation, by the way, I wouldn't wish injury on anybody, is that we're selling for 75 and he does a rat.
I mean, I think he's more than likely going to Manchester City, isn't he? That's
where all the noise is coming from.
So in which case,
we have, by the way, we have had Martin on here from Mancunian Way. Good podcast if you want to go and watch that, folks. Saying that they'll not pay anywhere near 75 million for him.
So saying that, then if a team will come in with a daft offer for him, but if he has a good World Cup, do we then keep Trippier for another season? Do we think to ourselves, we've already got a right back we've got to buy, do we have to keep Trippier here for another season just to cover that fact?
Not for me. No, sadly.
I think what would convince me to try to keep Tino, and why I would love us to keep Tino, I'm just not convinced he wants to stay, so I'm not going to do an Isaac with this and like wish him to stay, is the fact I think Emil Kraft and Trippier are both going after this season. So that would be why I would keep Tino. We would still need to bring in another right back, but if we get rid of Tino as well, we've got to bring in two, because I don't see Shahar getting given a chance. Really, I'm not sure if he's just not up to the grade or what it is, but I don't see him.
Well, he'll
coming
be a
into the
year
team.
older then, of course.
So basically, we're looking at this that we're going to probably need two right backs this window.
If we lose Tino, yeah, 100%.
You see, I haven't given up on Shahar at all. I think he could come good. And if we're in a situation where we only sign one right back, to be first choice, let's be honest, and he does get injured or need resting, then Eddie will be more or less without if he's got Trippier and Kraft available, we know that Eddie will be tempted to play them. If they're not an option, he'll more or less have to go to the youth. And then we'll see what Shahar's made of. But, you know, captain of his England age group, so he's not a bad player, let's be honest.
So we're saying that we're expecting Eddie to give youth a chance next season, because he hasn't at all so far, has he? You think that's maybe something he
chance of a
has
sell
to
all three
do?
of them and don't bring a player in.
If we go to left back next, the crack today is that Murphy, in the thing he's saying, the novelty of being on the bench and having me first. I don't know if you can remember when I did the stadium tour, and you know Murphy's got his own cubicle with his name and photo above it. But he says that novelty is now. This is while he's been away with Northern Ireland on. Is it Northern Ireland? I think it's Northern Ireland. I think.
Top of my head.
Ooh, shocking. Should know that. But anyway, and he's across the Irish Sea with the international squad, the under-21 international squad. And in an interview there, he has said that the novelty of being a Premiership first-team squad player is wearing off because he's not getting any minutes at all.
So if we take the young ones out of it, then so we'd say that these young players that Eddie hasn't particularly had faith in, they're out of it. We're looking at potentially needing two right backs and a left back this summer. Yep, straight away.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll go on to centre backs. I'm guessing we'll all agree in that Botman, Chow, and Burns stay.
Yeah.
There's not
And
much
Shaw?
question about them. Shaw.
No.
Do you offer Shaw a new contract?
A day. Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
Let's listen. Share is due back. We're told beginning of April. So it all depends on how he's recovered, doesn't it? Can he be if he can be the Share we know and love? Then I think it's definitely worth another contract. But the argument that we've heard is that he wants 2 years. And I certainly wouldn't give him 2 years.
I would keep Shaw over Burn. And I know that's probably controversial because Burn, you know, as we know, he's from Blythe. But I rate Shaw over where I rate Burn. And I know Burn's got a great game in him, but I don't think he's as sound either technically or going forward or defensively than I think Shaw's better than Burn in all areas.
Well,
But
I
in
don't,
regards-
needless to say. But
No,
Sam
but
Campbell
in
said,
regards-
what are
Go on.
we signing players based on? Well, according to the director of football, when he was last quoted, he was quoted as saying that we're signing players on high ceilings. Not Premiership proven continental players with high ceilings, were his exact words.
Like Cordero.
So that's what we're signing players based on.
I just think with Shaw now, he's probably a little bit of a spend force. We need a
I'm
young
bulky out now, me like.
we need a young defender, young central defender in that squad. So for me, I think that's again another place where we'll have to buy. So would you guys agree? I know Tina will go with Burn out and Win will go probably with Shaw out. But do you both agree we need a young defender in there as well, brought in this transfer window for central defender? At least one?
And I think Shaw would be good to keep to mentor that young player, especially if we're bringing them in from outside of England. We're going to need somebody who's been at international level, who's adapted to the Premier League, and who knows a little bit about the club, who posts on Instagram all the time, even when he's injured, about the team's ups and downs. I think a player like Shaw would be a fantastic mentor for a young defender that we bring in.
But either way, but either way, but I think we all kind of agree we can't keep both Burn and Botman, both Burn and Shea as older defenders. We need to keep one. I quite agree, and which one it is, to be honest, up to me, I don't really care which one it is. But we need to keep one of them and bring a younger player in as their replacement.
Would I be right in saying you follow Share on Instagram?
You'd be very right in saying I follow Share on Instagram. I do indeed. To answer Bulky's question, actually, no, I would not agree with that. I would agree younger than Burn and Share, but I think what we need is like an actual established, like 24 youngest, 27 maybe oldest. We need somebody who's like first team ready. We need somebody to be at the level that we expected Botman to be at by this point. I don't think bringing in like a youth player to take a chance on is what we need. Chow's still, making individual errors. Botman is injured every 2 weeks. We need somebody who's like Gahey, for example. Like that's what we needed, a properly established centre back.
We need to get away from
that 100%. But we all agree that we need at least one centre back, and that we don't keep both Shaw and Burn because they're just getting too old. You keep one of them for their experience, but you have to let one of them go at least, just to keep the squad balanced.
I think we need two centre backs.
So you think we need two centre backs in?
Two quality centre backs.
Right, so we'll move on to midfield. Sorry, Win, was there anybody that would be linked with centre-back or full-back wise?
Not that I'm...
Nothing that you're aware of.
Very recently.
I mean,
anyway.
It doesn't really make much difference.
Listen, the rumour mill, you hear the names are bandied about left, right and centre in the chat. We get everybody coming on saying, we should sign this.
I was going to say, and to be fair,
this
talk about European...
Croatian centre-back who's playing for... Cagliari, who nobody ever heard of. Well, I certainly haven't heard of. Anyway.
I was just going to say, mate, I can ask these questions, but let's face it, us three don't watch much European football. Gary would go into it in depth on what those players were like. We would mention the name, then just think, actually, I don't know anything about them. So, it's just a name. So
moving on.
moving on to midfield.
But here's the thing, though. Does that not? Because by and large, the only European football I watch is European football. It's not La Liga. It's not Serie A. It's not.
Yeah. So you don't watch their leagues. Yeah.
I watch them avidly when they're involved in, in Champions League and in Europa to a lesser degree in conference, and that kind of puts it in the pecking order, because I watch, I'll watch every minute that I can watch of all the other Champions League games with a view to, if we play against them, who do we need to watch? Who's having a good game? Who could we be after? But that again is the difference between being in the Champions League and not in the Champions League. Again, not so much Europa, because we aren't in the Europa League. So it'll be on, maybe, so I'll be watching it, but not paying as much attention as I do to the competitions that we are involved in.
Yeah.
Choppy with a comment there in chat. Eddie Howe swears by these players. I swear at them. I
Those
just
are- I tell you what, you were not alone in swearing at a few of them on Sunday. I tell you that, Joe.
So moving on to the right side of midfield, do you think we've obviously spent a lot of money on Alanga this summer. Do you think it's time would you get rid of Alanga, or do you think it's time for Murphy to move on? Or do you think we'll stick with them two for next season?
Well, I think when is Murphy's contract up? Is he one of the ones that it's up?
I think it's up the season after Murphy's, if I'm right.
Well, put it this way, I wouldn't be, you know, and it's so harsh, man, because if you look at Murphy's
Come on, when you're the director of football, you've got to be harsh.
with the well, you know, I haven't got the dossiers at my disposal. He's got at his in terms of.
But you go to every match and you watch the games. Just be honest of what you've seen.
Well, what I've seen, Murphy's. I prefer Murphy on the right wing to Alanga.
No,
So
I would
keep
agree.
hold of
That's I say, just purely because of output and
So do we
because of
stay?
desire. But you know what you're going to get for Murphy. We'll certainly be halving more money on Alanga, I reckon, if we try to offload him. Is there still
I'll
a
keep
player on
both.
Alanga? I watched Alanga play for 2 seasons with Forest there when he was, you know, slinging the ball in for Chris Wood to knock them in. And he was tremendous, which is why we were after him, which is why we eventually got him and paid what we did for him. Has he shown that at Newcastle? No, he hasn't. And again, I go back to the very first game he played when we signed him, Aston Villa, first game of the season, first minute of the game, 1-on-1 with the keeper, and he fluffed it. And that, to me, it rang so many, you know, bells about John Dal Thomason when he came. So what I think could happen to Alanga is that we'll get rid of him, and he'll go and win a Champions League with somebody else.
Yeah, I was going to say,
So
let's not forget
which-
Jon Dahl Thomason was actually a baller. Like, he was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
fantastic.
what for us, he wasn't.
What do we do left right wing, Tina? What do we do with that right side? Do we just keep what we've got?
I would keep Alanga and Murphy.
Keep a
I
man
think
on
there
Murphy.
are,
So
there
we'll
are
move.
other positions.
Sorry, pal, I'll let you go first on this one because I'm just conscious on time. So if we move on to the left-hand side, would you keep Byrne and Gordon, or do you think there's one of them goes?
Barnes and Gordon even.
Barnes and Gordon, sorry.
Yeah,
I
keep both of them.
thought he'd said Barnes and Gordon, to be fair.
But if
But no, I said Tina because we haven't got time. Go on, Tina, what would you do?
if
I
if we're gonna like a spanking offer in for Gordon, I would take it. Go on, Tina.
No, that's my thoughts. I would keep Barnes and Gordon. But if we get a great offer for Gordon, I would consider it if he wants away. But I would like us to keep them. If I had to, if they both wanted to stay and I had to choose one to go, I would get rid of Barnes and replace him. But I'd be more than happy to see him stay.
Keep
'Cause I
them
love his
too.
celebration.
So if we move on to central midfield, then we'll go that we're going to go with 3 central midfielders. Which central midfielders would you let go? Which ones would you want to replace this window? And which ones do you think might leave? Which ones do you think a big team's going to come in for them?
Well, again, reports from Italy today are saying that Tonali is poo-pooing any move to Man United. And,
Why would he go there?
The word on the street is that he's he does want to go back to Italy, but nobody in Italy can afford him, so he's going to be quite happy to give us another season. And if that's the case, I am delighted.
So what about the likes of Bruno? We'll take it. Bruno and J7 will stay. I think we can safely say that. If we're saying Tonali stays, so what about the rest of the midfield? I'm guessing Ramsey stays because we've just bought him. What about
wanna
Willock?
keep Ramsey.
What's his name? Miley stays. So the only one really then is the question is, where's Willock? Does he go?
And I think we missed a massive trick when all that the rumours were around about Fulham putting a £20 million bid in for Willock. I would have, honest, I would have bit the hands off. You're talking about you driving them down there, I would have pushed the car if it ran out of petrol. But
In regards to what we should be signing at centre midfield, because I've been saying this for ages, and I know sometimes chat disagree with me because they think we've got a team full of these. I think we need a solid, out-and-out defensive midfielder, a Czech Tiote, a Didier Deschamps, a Patrick Vieira, somebody who's going to sit, a Yaya Toure, someone who's going to sit in front of our defence and just concentrate on that, and that either Bruno, Ramsey, Tonali, or Joe Linton push forward as attacking midfielders. None of this interchanging anymore. None of this, okay, I'll go forward, you go back. None of this, okay, Tonali can sit. Let the creative midfielders be creative and buy a proper central defensive midfielder, buy a proper number 6. That's what I'm crying out for this season.
So do you think that's what we've missed this season, not having a number 6?
100%. I've been saying that since I first came on this channel. I think a number 6 would have changed it. Look at the Sunderland game. Look at the gaps that we left between defence and midfield. Look at how many times that's let us down. We talk about individual errors, but those individual errors can get mopped up with a lot of you've got a proper Czech Tiote sat in the middle of your park, ready to mop everything up. Just keeping an eye, being absolutely focused, laser point focused. It wouldn't be too bad if he's got a touch like Pirlo as well, where he can ping a pass here and there. But just somebody who can break up opposition attacks and put us back on the attack, even if you've just got to keep it simple and get the attacks moving forward. But somebody with a bit of about him. That's probably not the word for that, but do you know what I mean? Like somebody
is that a technical expression?
Just before we hand over to the late guys, and then remember we're still staying on the air after 9:30. Everybody keep watching. You've got the guys coming on to do the late night show if you like. Jack's going to be leading that one tonight, so it'll be very, very interesting. Listen. In regards to this then, striker-wise, what do we need to do up there? How many strikers do we need? How many do you think we'll lose from what we've got at the minute?
I've got a bad feeling Waldemar leaves.
If you've got a full pre-season with Waldemar and Wissa, I don't think Wissa's become a terrible player overnight. Right? He's had the injury issues, and allegedly he's now, in Eddie's words, fitter than he's been since he got here. I do not rule out Wissa and Waldemar coming good. I was so excited at the start of the season when we eventually got that, and then of course Wissa got crocked, so it went to dust. But it's kind of reload starting next season for me. But I would still buy another striker, definitely, if one becomes available for a reasonable price.
And do you think we need another striker, Tina?
I would sell Wissa. I'd keep Waldemar, and I think we do need like an out-and-out striker. And as much as it's going to get hit, I'd take Brian Brobby, to be honest with you. I think he's exactly what we need at this club. But no, there are probably better centre forwards out there as well. But I think we need a second one. I think Wissa's head's gone from this team altogether.
I think the problem with Wissa is that we're never ever going to get our money back on him. We can't sell him. We're stuck with him now for probably the majority of his contract because of the money that we paid him and the fact we overpaid for him in the first place. So we'll overpaid on wages. You know, unless we take an absolutely massive hit on that lad, we're going to be, you know, stuck with him PFI wise for the PFI. Financial fair play wise for the rest of time, basically.
Just because I need to answer chat, because chat out again called me out like they did the other night, saying we've got 3 number 6s, we don't need another number 6. Bruno and Tonali are not number 6s. Bruno doesn't get played as a number 6 for us. He's the more defensive midfielder archetype of the two of them, but Tonali and Bruno are absolutely number 8s. So yeah, I'll step down off my high horse, but I'm not having people being like, she's talking rubbish, we've got 3 number 6s.
NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Boki, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
I don't know what happened there.
Don't know what happened there, but anyway.
Time to hand over. Thank you very much for this evening, everybody who's been watching, and we will see you next time. See you later, guys.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Very interesting conversation.
Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you, Wazza, as always. Thank you, Prosaic, for 5 gifted memberships. Thanks to Mick, Toon Army, Sam Campbell multiple times. Wazza again, of course. Becca, DJ, JK, Jeffo, and the Bevis. Thank you all so much for your super chat and for your memberships.
Yeah. Absolutely.
See you later, guys.
Thank you very much. See you later. I don't actually know who's staying on, but right, we're all good. Right, let's have a look. So it is me taking you through tonight. No Chris this evening. It is going to be Jack Cunningham and the Mighty Win and Ian Supermac McKay, and we're going to be addressing numerous things, but we're going to start actually with a claim from Wayne Rooney about Newcastle's transfer business last summer. He said that the reason Newcastle have struggled this season is because that they made some panic signings, and he name-checked Vissa and Waldemar as those 2 panic signings. He didn't mention Chow, Ramsey or Elanga, but we can address them all individually as well. But I thought it was a really interesting point, and then of course he did say to Newcastle fans, maybe the grass isn't always greener in regards to Eddie Howe. So I thought it was really an interesting point from Wayne Rooney. Clearly a very good pundit these days, actually, is Wayne Rooney. But I mean, we've got another apologies. Got hello, welcome. Great to have you on. How are you? How is everyone doing? First of all, and then we'll get straight into it. But I mean, has anyone recovered actually from Sunday yet, or how we're feeling?
Not really. Well, I'm glad we've got a 3 week.
A long time for that.
It'll
3
take
weeks,
at least
3
the
weeks
3 weeks.
afterwards. It's just a nightmare, isn't it?
Because bear in mind, it wasn't just Sundays; it was Wednesdays as well.
That was a week ago today.
The week of shame, if you like. It was.
It really was, and it started so well with a 1-0 win over Chelsea as well. Kind of, I was like, we're set up here for a big week, and then first half was great against Barcelona.
Yeah.
Where have we heard that before?
Yes,
was good against Sunderland.
First half against Sunderland was all right. Yeah, it's just the second half that are killing us, isn't it?
I've got to be honest. I don't actually think the first half against Sunderland was very good.
It wasn't great, but it was better. It was all right. It was.
It was okay. It was okay. Sunderland turned up, not wanting to get battered. They were wasting They were wasting time from minute 1. They turned up with a lot of injuries. They didn't have their first choice goalkeeper. 4 of their back 5 didn't play, essentially. So I think they really thought, let's just try not to lose by too many. We'll take that pride and get out of it. And what happened is, we score. We started really well. We created one other chance, sort of in the first half, where Langer fired into the side netting. That's the only one I can actually remember.
Botman hit the post.
Botman hit the post as well, I suppose. Yeah. To be fair, yeah. So from 10 minutes to 40 minutes, we were really average, and then in the last 5 minutes of the first half, we were pretty decent. And if we got a second goal, it probably is a very different game. But equally, look, in the end, I just don't think we did enough in the first half to put them away. And then in the second half, they realised we're actually not that good. We're there for the taking. And in the end, they deservedly won, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they deserved to win as well. It wasn't. They weren't exactly fantastic or vintage or anything, but they just were. There was that fight, and I thought Brobbery, is that his name, Brobbery or Brobby?
Brobby.
Mr. Brobbery. Yeah, he was. I thought he was outstanding, like the way he held the ball up. That's something we've missed all season. We haven't had a striker who can hold it up like that. So, I think he cost them the same as Asula, didn't he? Cost us. So they did all right with that.
17 mil, I think. 17 mil probably was.
Yeah, he was a transfer deadline day signing, Brobby, and yeah, he dealt with our back 4 extremely well. Just held the ball up really well. Yeah. I mean, again, like their goalkeeper he looked
an
so
item, man.
dodgy. He looked so dodgy, and we just didn't test him at all. There was one point where we had a shot. Murphy had a shot from sort of the edge of the box straight at him, and he just like flapped at it and like pushed it over the crossbar. I was like,
Yeah.
lads, like these are there. They're there for the taking, and it was such a bad performance. And to lose them again, you know, I do understand now why people have totally turned against Howe. I was never in that camp. I'm still not in that camp, but I do understand now why. Because you can't lose to Sunderland twice. This isn't Newcastle and Sunderland of old, you know, where I suppose we were kind of 15th and 16th in the Premier League, battling relegation every season. And even then, our players were probably better on paper, but it was always quite close. This time, we're talking a year ago, we won the Carabao Cup. We're playing the Champions League twice. The derby should be a game that we do win, realistically. But you've got to turn up, and we didn't turn up on both occasions.
And also, they've been at the kind of epicenter of a lot of our failings in recent years, because when you think about the relegation under Rafa, we played Sunderland and we scraped at home, we scraped a draw, but they were the team that came 17th and we were 18th. So again, that's like those sorts of things seem to have been happening quite a lot where and we, you know, Colback scores and they win 3-0 and then we sign Colback and we lose 3. It's just, you couldn't make it up really. And like you say, I think player for player, I've always felt like we've had a better team. But even back then when we had players like Andros Townsend and Mitrovic and those guys, but just they seem to have our number for some reason. There's this sense of inevitability at times, which is I don't understand it.
Yeah,
Gordon thinks we're better, doesn't he? Gordon thinks we're a much better team.
I think that was.
Honest, those comments were daft.
Yeah.
What's the test? We've played them twice. We've lost twice. I think player for player we've got a much better team as well. But what's the difference? I just don't understand why that team, our team, can't be up to show a little bit of fight in the second half. When they've started so well, they finished the first half on top. Surely they're raring to go when they come back out, at least the first 10 minutes to get after them. And of course, they've equalised within the first 10 minutes, haven't they? Absolutely embarrassing.
And the winning goal was it was a strange one, wasn't it? Because I didn't know Tino was obviously part of. I didn't even, because it all happened quite quickly, and it was a real messy, scruffy goal. But there were quite a few people who were culpable there. But Tino's was one that I didn't notice at the time because I didn't want to watch the replay of it.
Understandable.
So it's just like, I don't know what's going on. Some players seem to really be switched off at the moment. Don't know how you reinvigorate them.
I think also the winning goal, what starts the winning goal is Xhaka's pass into Siddiqui, who's in behind our midfield. And how many times have we seen every single team play against us this season and just drop a man in behind the flat midfield three? It happens over and over again. And once Siddiqui's in there, he is not the best passer of the football, by the way. But even he can find a simple 10-yard pass out at Enzo Lefebvre, who then Byrne and Hall don't deal with. And then obviously Tino loses Brobby. But it all starts from, once again, that man being in behind the flat midfield three, which is why I heard, Christina saying about a proper number 6 or someone playing as a number 6 anyway, because it is this thing where we play 3 essentially box-to-box midfielders every single game. They all have to do the same role. They all have to defend the same. They all have to attack the same. You do have to just tell one of them to drop in that little bit deeper, and I think you would stop a lot of the issues that we have, because I felt I've seen that over and over again. I thought I saw it with West Ham away, Brentford away, Burnley away. If we can see it, why can't Eddie see it? Do you know what I mean?
I think he will see it.
I don't know if you're on. If you saw the show last night where Jamie came up with the absolutely beautiful analogy of the old Columbo TV series.
All right.
Where you see the murder committed, so you know who's done it from the outset, But the murderer has covered all his tracks. He's covered every single way that he can be. He's given himself alibis and everything. And Colombo will come along, and that's what happens with Newcastle. Everything's going swimmingly. We're the murderer. Everything's going swimmingly. We've got everything right, and then just there's that moment when the opposition manager makes a slight tweak, and something happens, and it's that moment when Colombo says, "Just one more thing," and then everything turns, and suddenly the murderer says, "Oh, hell, I forgot about that," and on it goes. And it was such a good analogy. I really enjoyed it. I thought I would air it again. Because how many times this season has that happened?
It's countless. It's absolutely countless.
Well, suffice to say, 22 points from losing
winning positions. Yeah, we'd be second. And look, I know you're going to drop. Not every team wins all their points from winning positions. It's not possible. But we should take at least, I'd say, 15 of those, probably, realistically, which has us well in the race for Europe, which is where this season should have been anyway. When you look at the league and look at how poor the league's been, it just feels like this year has been a massive missed opportunity.
The fifth place. I mean, all the teams are fighting for fifth are just losing. Chelsea, Liverpool, they can't seem to string 2 wins together. So, and even Villa, they've been in terrible form. So, I know they won the last game against West Ham, but before that, it was one win in 6 or 5 or 6. So, the door's been open a number of times this season, but every time it gets open, we can't walk through it. We just this was a game where we would have put ourselves right in the mix, like 1 point behind 6th, I think, was it? Yeah. So we would have been right in the shake-up. And again, this has happened countless times. Just can't do it. Brentford at home was another one.
I would just take issue with you, Jack, that was saying we know how poor the league's been this season. I tend to turn that on its head and say that the league as a whole now is better than it's ever been. That's why you're getting the results that you're getting, because the also rans are not all. The also rans have also spent 90 million, 100 million pound on that squad, and got better players in because of the finances.
That's fair point. That's a fair point. So I think the league's condensed. So I think
Absolutely
condensed. So it's as if like the bottom teams have caught up with the top teams. But what we'll say is I don't think the top teams are anywhere at the level that they used to be. We're not. This Arsenal team will get absolutely destroyed by Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. They'll get absolutely destroyed by many other Pep Guardiola Manchester Cities. This is they probably will win the Premier League, but it's not a good team that's going to win the Premier League, because, as I said, the league's condensed, but the top of the league has got worse. And I look at this season, and I look at last summer, and we will talk about that in a little bit as well, of just a missed opportunity of, if you got it right, if you got the correct signings in and what have you, then I think we would have been well up there this season. Really do think we would have been well up there this season, because we had a lot of the basic ingredients. And ultimately, it hasn't worked out, and we haven't been able to deal with the number of games. We've had to struggle with the amount of. Well, the way I think what happened is we've gone back to the pressing style of football. That's why Gordon's leading the line, of course, and I think that's in the end it's starting to gas us out a little bit more, because you've seen in the second half. I mean, have you seen the second half table for the Premier League? Newcastle is 16th in the second. If second half's alone counted. That shows you a problem.
Yeah, and I think actually it's an interesting analogy. And I think the way you said condensed the league. It's a bit like our squad, I think, where we've probably raised the floor a little bit, where the worst players are not, Manquillo and Matt Ritchie and Dummett, but the top end now without Isaac and one or two other guys, and Bruno injured, of course, doesn't help. That's come down as well, so it's more condensed the level of the overall squad, so the league and the squad are kind of mirroring each other a little bit.
Except that Jack talked about the ingredients there, and if you consider our ingredients now, 6 players in the England squad, 2 in the Brazil squad, 2 in the Germany squad, 1 in the Italy squad, never been known.
No, it hasn't. So why we're mid-table in the Premier League?
That's the question.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think? Oh, go on.
We've just got the one way of playing, haven't we? We've got the one way of playing, and it doesn't work very well against the low block. And the team is all the way up now, not down, up to Everton play with a low block, and we struggle against those teams. I mean, I am finally have lost all hope after that Sunderland game. I mean, before that, I was really encouraged. I was really encouraged by how we played at Chelsea, how we played at home against Barcelona. I mean, I put money on us to qualify for the Champions League after that Barcelona game. Because I thought we'd win 7 of the last.
Hope it wasn't too much.
Yeah, no, I hope you didn't put loads on.
I think we'll be lucky to win again.
Oh, I think we'll win 2 games.
Teams we're playing are all masters of the low block and dangerous up front. So I can just see us losing 2-1 over and over, home and away. And I think it's because we've only got one way of playing. And it's a way that we can do really effectively when we're playing 1 game a week, because everyone's had a week off and they've trained. But when you're trying to do it every 3 or 4 days, it just catches up with you, you know. Would a number 6 have made any difference against Sunderland, or would he be completely knackered as well and not quite able to get back into position when they break? Because they didn't break. It wasn't a lightning fast break at all. You know, there was a ball in, he turned and he looked and he played a ball out, and that fella got held up by Hall for a few seconds. We still didn't have any midfielders back in the box to defend.
They were jogging back. It was it was pretty pathetic. It was pretty pathetic, actually, to be honest.
It was pathetic. Last minute of a derby match that you're only drawn, and you know there's 50,000 people there going to be annoyed if you don't win it, then you don't jog back to defend that last through his legs as well.
Mickey Toon Army.
And Ian, I would have been annoyed. I would have been annoyed with a draw. Like before the game, I was saying we need to win. We need to win. I'm not accepting nothing else other than a win. I was looking at the Sunderland team. I was like, right, they're without loads of their players. I saw something like, we didn't have Toon Army, Bruno and Miley. They played the last derby. There was 3 with the midfield in the last derby. How did we do in that one? So there was no excuse not to win. So to lose, it was absolutely unacceptable, to be honest. And one thing I didn't get as well was, so if you go back to Chelsea, the back 5 was Ramsdale, Tino, Chow, Botman, Hall. Why on earth were Trippier and Byrne back in Barcelona? And then we watched Byrne and Trippier get run ragged by Barcelona. I know Chow didn't have a good game either, but still, I see the lineup on Sunday and I see Byrne and Trippier in it, and I'm like, what are they doing in there? These are players who have been brilliant for Newcastle. They're legends. They have let us down over and over again this season. Just with I think their age has catched up with them a little bit. I don't understand why that back 4 of Tino, Botman, Chow, and Hall wasn't starting at least one of those games last week.
I'd slightly disagree on the Byrne one. I do think he's generally played quite well. He's had a few off games.
That's fair.
But I don't think he's been any worse than Botman. I think Botman's form hasn't been fantastic. I agree with you on Trippier, but I think for the derby game, I think a lot of us were saying, like, we've got to have Dan Byrne in there. You've got to have that guy at the back. But I can see a lot of people leaning into the younger back 4 now. I think it probably does make sense for these last 7 games to try something different. I think we've got to get a tune out of these strikers. That's what's been a massive issue. We've kind of got out of jail to an extent the last few seasons with Callum Wilson got 18 goals, Amaron got 11 or 12 or something, and Isak chipped in with double figures in that first season. Then Isak got 25, then he got 27. This season we haven't really in the league had anyone really step up and get many goals. I think Barnes might have 7 or 8 and Voltamada about that as well. So and they're the top scorers, and Gordon's got 6. So no one's really, we haven't found that magic formula or that player who can lead the line. And that's been one of the problems. There's been lots defensively. We're all over the place. But and the goalkeepers, Ramsdale's done better than Pope, but neither of them's the long-term answer. So we have missed. It sounds like Isak might be available again. Maybe we go back and bring him back. Do a swap with Wissa.
Survey said.
No, that's tongue in cheek. But No, we've certainly missed that top striker, and we've had that top striker for the last 4 or 5 years, haven't we? So it's a fair start, and I think Voltemada could be, but he's not there yet.
Best case scenario, we've got 4 or 5 out of contract that need replacing. The 4 or 5 that aren't out of contract, I think, need replacing. So that 10 new players should try and bed in to a team that hasn't really got any other way of playing than one way, which is ineffective. I think it's a huge ask to be able to do that. Whoever you bring in, just look at how much Liverpool spent and the quality of the players they brought in.
A
and
good
how
comment in here from
indifferent.
coin a phrase is I think Eddie's good at prepping how to play against a team in advance, hence good first halves, etc. But very poor at adapting in game. Seems to me other teams at half time adapt to how we are hurting them, and
That's
he
true.
doesn't adapt. And
I think
very,
his in-game
very
management
good.
can be pretty poor. I thought the substitutions on Sunday were ridiculous. They didn't make any sense whatsoever. Waldemar was one of our better players, to be honest. I had no idea why he was being taken off for Murphy, who has been poor for a long time, and then Gordon coming off at the end for Vissa. Like Gordon was again, he was actually looking lively. He got a goal. He was our most dangerous player on the pitch. It didn't make a lot of sense for me to do that, and I think that's been a criticism of Eddie for quite a while, and I think it's all valid criticism. To be fair, in numerous ways.
Borgie celebrating 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months membership. Yeah.
Someone's been trying to teach Win this exact point. I think he's referring to the previous comment that I showed.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, and then I think that to be fair brings us nicely on to those comments from Wim Rooney about Newcastle panic buying last summer, and he did name check Vissa and Voltemada. So I'll open the floor up to whoever wants to go first. Can start with Vissa and Voltemada, then we can look at the other signings. But whoever wants to go first on, first of all, do you think they were panic buys? And then is it all on them for our struggles this season? Because that's kind of what he was saying.
I think they were panic buys in the sense of the fee. Oh, do you need to read this comment out?
Just a quick super chat from Toon Army saying Eddie got rid of Anderson and Minty. Great decision. Well, that's a bit harsh, really.
No, it was either. I think from that point, it was either lose Gordon, wasn't it, or someone like that.
I wish we'd lost Gordon, and I like Gordon, but having those.
Look, but the thing with Anderson is, in the end, he wasn't getting in our team. He wouldn't have become the player that he is right now. It is a massive shame that ultimately the rules force us to sell him. It's what it is, unfortunately. But yeah, carry on with this from Voltemada, whoever.
Oh yeah, so well, obviously the situation we kind of played ourselves into. We played it really poorly. I even think Calvert-Lewin. I know we would all have gone crazy if Calvert-Lewin had been the signing, but on a free transfer, just to have a striker in the building. And he didn't move to Leeds until late August. So he was there on a free, sitting there, 80 grand a week, just as a no risk kind of, okay, if he's terrible, you just get rid of him at the end of the season. Someone will pay 10 million. And we didn't put anything in place. So Isak was going, we couldn't do anything. Wilson had gone. There was no one, there's a Sula, that was it. And then we tied, every other club, the selling clubs, knew our hands were tied. And then we're going in and making these crazy bids for players. Tried to sign João Pedro, who didn't want to leave London, which is, again, should have known that. But we're making these wild bids for Sesko. We're bidding 10 million more than Man United, and we're bidding this much. Ekatike will give you more money for him. The players didn't want to come here. So all this 11th hour stuff, and then we're bidding double what Bayern bid for Voltemada. Good, talented player, but we obviously paid way over the odds. And for Vissa, that was bonkers. I mean, 55 million, and he's on a free. He would have been on a free this summer, it's got to be one of the maddest transfers I think I've ever, in terms of a financial outlay for the club. I'm trying to think of someone, Albert Luque, but he was a talented player. But anyway, yeah, Boomsong perhaps because he went on a free to Rangers, didn't he, and then joined us 3 months later for 9 million. But yeah, that really, really did seem like panic buying. I think what could we do? It was deadline day. We needed a striker. We put all our eggs in the Vissa basket. just had to pay whatever. They could have said any fee. I think at that time we were just panicking. And yeah, so now, unfortunately, it's come back to bite us.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
You're saying they panicked with the price they paid for Wissa because it was getting very, very late, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think he made it by 30 seconds.
seconds.
But that wasn't a panic. That wasn't a panic buy.
No, it
Howe
wasn't.
wanted him right from the start of the summer. So that's not a panic buy. I dispute what Rooney's saying about our signings being panic buys. Elanga wasn't a panic buy. Elanga came in and had virtually the whole of the pre-season with them as well, and he still looks like a fish out of water most of the time. On Voltemada, I think, yeah, we were working our way down a long list, but we picked up a really, really good player. Bayern Munich wanted him. They weren't going to pay that much less for him, but they thought we went over the top to get him. Sometimes you have to do that. I just think that he's been criminally used in the squad.
Yeah.
Brought him in, and there's a complete inability, if it is because they've been playing all of the time, or unwillingness to try and accommodate Voltemada in a role where he can be as effective as he is for Germany by changing the way that we play. I mean, if you remember, when we kicked off with 3 goalless draws, it was Gordon up front and Asula as the first change. We spend £125 million on strikers. That's how we finished. That's where we were. Gordon starts up front. Asula's the first change against Sunderland, against Barcelona. It's absolutely crazy.
But in the meantime,
very valid points. Go for it, Win.
Except in the meantime, we'd gone through whatever it was, 22 games when we'd played Voltemada up top, and he was completely innocuous.
But what I'll say about that is, what we won exactly, honestly, we're not playing it properly. We're not playing it properly.
Put a number 9 shirt on his back. Doesn't turn him into Alexander Isak. You've got to adjust how you play to get him to use his close control, to be slipping players who are alongside him in a false 9, if you like, but certainly with players around him so that he's got someone to bounce off and other people can put him in. He's a fantastic finisher. I think I read a stat somewhere which is, of all the shots that we've taken,
got a best shot conversion rate,
Bruno's top, but Voltemada is second, and he started great. He scored those goals.
That's it. Well, he started, if you remember, he started with 5 goals from 6 shots.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now that, by anybody's yardstick, is unsustainable. That is freak. And the next games kind of went on to show that.
But to be fair, Win, the problem with this
that isn't his fault, Win. That's because he gets 1 or 2 shots a game. And if you were Isak in our team, the way we played and set him up, he would have 5 or 6 shots a game because that's how we're set up. But he's quick and he can get played in behind, and that's not Voltemada. We've got a player there, I think, who is capable of Bergkamp levels of form, or that level when he's fully developed and he's a team that is set up to play with him. He will be absolutely superb, and it'll be really embarrassing if we've sold him at a loss, and he's like John Dahl Thomason, where he's a bloody world beater everywhere else he goes for the next 10 years. And I can see that happening. I can see him saying to his agent, "Let me go. I don't want to try and play number 8." They've already got a whole team of number 8s that play everywhere else but number 8. Why are they trying to make me do that? Nicholson's taken
really
the
valid points there.
With regard,
Nicholson says, wherever he plays in my Germany team, it won't be 80 yards away from the opposition goal.
Nagelsmann there was essentially saying, what is Eddie Howe doing to my striker, to my number 9, who is going to have players around him. If you look at Stuttgart last season, where Voltemada didn't play much in the first half of the season, but then played a huge role in the second half of the season, they played with 2 number 10s, and they always had men around Voltemada. And Germany will have Wirtz, they'll have Musiala, they'll have Sane, also around Voltemada when he's playing as the number 9. Newcastle have stuck him up front on his own and told him to play like Alexander Isak, in the sense of, you're not involved in the build-up play, you just stand up front and we'll create some chances for you. In the end, that's not how he wants to play. He wants to come in, drop deep, receive possession, and then you need runners off him. The only time I've really seen us do it properly was the game against Benfica, where Waldemar dropped in deep. He dragged the Benfica centre-back with him. He played a 1-2 with Bruno. Bruno played it down the right wing for Murphy, for the space that Waldemar had created. Murphy crossed it in for Gordon, and Gordon scored at the back post. That's not Waldemar directly involved in the goal, but that's because of his movement that he's created that goal. And it happened against Aston Villa as well, where he played as an actual number 10, where he created basically all of the moments leading to the goals by dragging in men, creating space for other people. This is why, for me, he's a bit like a Berbatov. And you mentioned Bergkamp as well, Ian, where if you look at their overall stats at the end of the season, you might go, oh, they weren't that good. But actually, it's the overall impact on the team.
Absolutely.
And what happens with the team and how many games you win with him in the team playing properly. That is how you will judge Nick Waldemar. I don't know how anyone can look at him and not tell me he's an unbelievable footballer. I understand it's become a division, but that's because Eddie Howe is using him wrong. And that's I'm still Eddie in, absolutely. But that is my one massive criticism of Howe this season, that he can't get this bit of a unicorn of a footballer, actually, because he's very, very unique to deliver in the games over and over again. And we've stuck him on the left-hand side of midfield, and it is just ridiculous. And by the way, when he's played in midfield, he's not a midfielder, but I don't think he loses the ball very often, and I think he works hard as well. But you can tell he's a bit of a fish out of water there.
Yeah.
I think as an actual number 10, he'd actually be really good if you played him as an actual number 10.
The only thing with that is you need a striker, don't you, to
Yes.
double them. Like Bergkamp had Henry and Ian Wright before that, and Berbatov had various strikers, Robbie Keane, or who did he have at Man United? He had played quite a lot with Tevez, I think, didn't he, or Rooney? But anyway, he always had people. He was quite like we don't have anyone. If we're going to play him 10, then we'd have to have someone else play 9. Would that be Gordon? Would we try? I think.
Well, I was hoping it was going to be Wissa.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. With 7 games to go, I would actually play Visser and Voltemade now for the last 7 games, just to try something different. Because
I just think the last 7 games are too important to experiment on.
Oh yeah, but it's not working. What we're doing now is not working. We've
got another lovely analogy in the chat here from the Bevis. And on about whether it was a panic buys, etc., etc. Newcastle have to try for the best. It's the same as being on the pull. Aim high, take your knocks, and land a good one. Don't just settle for some old boiler.
I mean, I'll tell you who the old boiler is, Visser. Oh, get him out of the club. I have had enough of him. It's his lack of effort for me. It's his lack of effort.
You say
wearing the number 9 shirt for Newcastle United, man. Run around. There was a game against Brentford that annoyed me, and he hasn't started a game since because it clearly annoyed Eddie as well. Where he's against his old team, and the Brentford centre-backs are Ayer and Vandenberg. Pretty bang average centre-backs in possession. And they were just allowed to just wander out, no pressure whatsoever. Come on, bring the ball forward, mate. That's fine. You play the ball out wide. I'm going to jog after you. It was because at least Asula, right? Yeah, you might not rate him too highly in a lot of ways, but he will actually chase you around. He will chase the goalkeeper, he'll chase the defenders. Even Waldemar up front, he's not quick, but he still presses. He does still press. He tries. So for me, that's the thing with Visser. It's just that lack of effort. I don't care. We've had some terrible players. Newcastle had some awful players. I mean, Riviere is one of the worst players I've ever seen in my life.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's horrendous. But Visser's work rate, or lack of it, is just unforgivable for me, really is. And then...
Hang on. I'm going to come to Visser's rescue here. Did you see his...
What are you defending?
His
what are you
first
defending?
involvement on Sunday, when he ran back 40 yards flat out to tackle the Sunderland player in the middle of our half when nobody else was going anywhere near him. That, to me, showed commitment. So I'm not having this lack of commitment nonsense. I just don't think I don't think he's been fit. I think now that he is fit, yeah. And what was I saying? Jack, just Walter's too slow for the Prem fact. And this gets back to Walter Marder. You want him to be starting up front and having players working around him so you can bring them into play. In theory, absolutely perfect. The problem is that Walter Marder his inertia up front for me, his lack of speed in closing down eliminates any form of impetus or reason for other players, because the opposition have got the ball. You know, the keeper might have the ball and he played to the fullback who's got all the time in the world when Walter Marder's playing up top, because he just stands there and lets himself be surrounded by the centre halves. You don't get those opportunities to have players up with him when he's
That's
playing
not his
top
game,
man.
though, Win. You got
Well, I know
blinkers
it's
on
not
that.
his
There's
game.
only
That's
one.
what I'm saying. You do not play him up top for.
You've got blinkers on to think the only way you can play for Newcastle is if you're a super athlete and you're super fast and you press hard. But that's not the only way to play. But I mean, it's not. There's not any other way to play in Eddie Howe's playbook. I just look at Teddy Sheringham, played till he was 40, and he was a slow old tank, but he was a bloody genius, and that's why he played for England as many times as he did. That's why he's still playing for Man
Stronger,
United at
wasn't he? And he was-
38.
With a proper striker. Be it
Well,
Andy
I'll tell you
Cole,
what,
be it Dwight York, be it Alan Shearer.
I'll tell you, Waldemar would be unbelievable for Arsenal. It'd be absolutely unbelievable for Arsenal because they have more possession in basically every game. At the moment, they have an absolute donkey up front. But
Yeah,
if they had Waldemar up front, who they could play the ball into, he'd hold people off, he'd get people into play. Arsenal would they'd be flying with Waldemar up front. Ultimately, it is the wrong striker for the wrong manager, and it's a case of but you can't sell him. You can't sell him because he will go on to be excellent somewhere else. There's a reason Bayern Munich is still interested in him. There's got to be an adaptation, and there has to be an adaptation for Eddie anyway, because we've seen he can't. The seasons where we play more than a game or more than one game a week, we struggle. We struggle. It's now 2 years where we've struggled in the Premier League with European football as well. There needs to be an adaptation to take some of the physical stress off the players, and that means getting more technical footballers. And there's not many more technical footballers around than Nick Walter-Marder. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with Walter-Marder. I think he's a big litmus test for the fan base. I appreciate that he splits the fan base, but for me, if you're going to evolve as a football team, you should be building the team around him more so than anything, to be honest.
Yeah, the only thing that I slightly disagree with is I actually think he needs to get a bit stronger. I think he does give the ball up a bit too easily, and I'd like to see, because I think with his size, that's obviously one of the big attributes that he has is if he could use it. Like when you think Peter Crouch was kind of wiry, but he was really good at holding the ball up, and he was exceptional in the air, brilliant in the air. And I think that's where Voltemada could improve and become a top player, because like you said, Ian said, Teddy Sheringham wasn't particularly quick, but he had all the other attributes. You can knock the ball up to him, he's going to protect it, he'd look after it, he'll find the man, he's clever, he'll see the pass, and he always seems to be in those pockets of space. Yeah, he was a very strong guy, and so I think that's where Voltemada, for me, to play in the Premier League, you have to be strong or quick or something, and he just needs to add that little bit of flourish to his game, and I think like you say, we could have a fantastic player on our hands.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I totally agree with you on the strength. No, go for it, Ian. Go for it.
I was going to say he's just 23, and he's got to get his Eddie Howe fitness levels up, hasn't he? Which would include the sort of Lewis Miley type transformation in the gym. Might get him a little bit of extra. That's all going to help.
Yeah.
That's all going to help. I don't know if you saw. I'm sure I've read that. Liverpool are wanting 150 million to get Elise, but Real Madrid are circling, saying they'll go up and get paid 200 million. This is what an elite European striker costs now. And we did Isaac at 125, but they're already beyond that for the next level. That's who Voltemada is. He'll look cheap. He'll look cheap if we can get this right.
Do you think he's on that level?
We will look like complete mugs if we can make a loss on selling Voltemada.
I don't think
where he is 18 months after that.
I think we'll keep him. I don't think we're getting rid of him.
Chris the American magazine, when I'm getting battered by TalkSport Jack. In hell, man. Throw the towel in.
He's trying his best. But no, I don't think we'll get rid of Voltzman. I think the one thing I have, even if Eddie's not here, by the way, But the one thing, if Eddie is still here, that I have kind of like hope with, and it's a sort of a something to hold on to, if you like. First season that Gordon was here was shocking. Then second season, brilliant. Lewis Hall barely played. Second season, outstanding. Tino played a bit. Second season, outstanding. This has happened regularly with player after player after player.
Isaac.
So he's only 10 goals in the first season, 25 second season. So there's enough proof here and enough kind of evidence to think that maybe Alanga might be better. Not so sure on Visser. I'm kind of with Jack on Visser. Voltemada could be better. Ramsey, I would expect to definitely be better, and Ramsdale will be long gone, I think. So there's hope there, that things will get better, I think.
That's a really interesting point. That's really interesting. I think we saw that with Dan Burns said during the when he was on Sky Sports' coverage for the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg. He said that because of the patterns of play that we have, he kind of knows 3 passes ahead of where the ball's going to end up. Obviously, I don't think he was expecting to end up on the right wing on Sunday, but still, that kind of shows that it just all fell apart. But I think that is a thing that you are right to point that out, mate, because it's clearly something that the players do need to do. They do need to learn. And Voltemada and Visser and Ramsey joined basically right at the end of the transfer window, didn't they? The only one who got any pre-season was Alanga. And I'm just not sure he can pass a football, to be brutally honest. That's the problem with Alanga. I mean, the amount of times he just loses 5-yard passes is as much as Jacob Murphy. Is as much as Jacob Murphy. That right hand side just lose the ball every single time. And I'd be fine if they were losing the ball trying to play it forward, because I want my players to be ambitious playing it forward. But they're losing it, passing it 5 yards inside, lads. Like it's not good enough. It's not good enough. So,
and this is the other thing about Voltemada. You're on about he would be brilliant at Arsenal because they've got a, and I agree with you, because they've got a possession-based side. Our problem is we cannot hold on to the ball.
Exactly.
And that's because the players just cannot find we've got a couple of super chats here. Borky saying on screen tonight, the old donkey in the top right, the mighty win. And we've got Wazza saying Voltemada is too mechanical.
Mechanical? What?
Too mechanical with no anticipation.
What is he going on about? He's always fluid. Nah, Wazza, mate. Come on, man.
He's not a fan, is he?
You've seen some of the goals he scored this season. Yeah, mechanical goals, them. Come on.
He's a talented footballer. It's just, he's obviously going to take time to. I mean, he didn't take time. He adapted to the league on day one, but he's kind of.
Did he?
Then, well, no, I mean, he was scoring goals when he wasn't like necessarily involved in all the play, but he was putting it in the net. But I think then reality's kind of hit in, and maybe the hype and the expectation was a bit much for coming to a new league. And he's a young, by the way, like Jack said earlier, he had half a season at Stuttgart where he was in the first team on a regular basis, and he's had 8 games for Germany. So he's 24, yes, but he hasn't played regular first team football at a good level for a long time. So he's still learning, and I think he will improve substantially now over the next couple of years. And it would be mad if we got rid of him. I'd be happy if we used our Saudi links to just move Visser, maybe just get the 40 million or something and clear the books. Basically, that's what I'd be trying to do. Use one of those clubs.
No, I think you're spot on with this, Al. I'm sorry, I'd take any hit on him. Just accept it was a bad sign and move on. He turns 30 in September. You had to make an immediate impact. It's not his fault he got injured, by the way. It isn't his fault he got injured. And then he came back, and I appreciate this. Yeah, you know what? I would have had Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a Callum Wilson replacement. I would have done.
One of three.
He says no. He says no.
I've said it for ages.
One of three was fine.
I wasn't on the. By the way, I wasn't on the channel, so but still, I said it to my mates. I said I would have had Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a Callum Wilson replacement. Yes.
Why would you say that? Because I would have assumed that he would. I would have assumed that he would have maybe got to play 10 games and then not scored in those 10 games, like he had done for Everton. So he only had one decent season for Everton. To be fair to him, he played a lot of games last year for Everton.
Yeah,
but he didn't score very many goals.
Didn't get a lot of service.
That was a clue.
Didn't get a lot of service. And the thing with Calvert-Lewin is,
I think there would have been. I think there would have been riots in the streets if we
Oh,
if we had Isak on strike and the only person coming in was that Calvert-Lewin had been signed on a
But it
free.
would have
Although
given, it would have
in
untied us.
hindsight,
it
it
would
would
have
have
been an
been a
actual
great
striker.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have given us a bit more leeway to go, right, we're not paying 55 million, go away. And we can't keep getting held hostage by these clubs. It's happening too much. It happened with Gahey and we walked away eventually. That took the whole summer. But then it's happened with these other players where we've had, we're paying 20 million or 10 million, 50 million over the odds on almost every player recently. Apart from the free transfer ones. So it's a bit like I think we've got to step away sometimes when it gets to that point. No other club would have paid 55 for Elanga or 55 for Visser. So just when it got to 45, right, okay, who else is out there? There's got to be a striker, Brobry, or someone's out there, right? So, yeah.
We had a 60 million bid rejected for Strand Larsen.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I mean, that guy is the most obvious one season wonder going. I mean, that was the choice. We were left with Strand Larsen and Visser. I mean, come on, man. But I still don't get us wrong. When we signed Visser, I was still like, okay, he did well. He's clearly a finisher. It's not his fault he got injured. It's just since he's come back from that, I've not seen enough effort. And that's my issue. Because as I've said, I've seen rubbish footballers for Newcastle. Plenty of rubbish footballers for Newcastle. But it's the lack of effort for me that it just annoys me, to be honest. But that is where I'm at with that one. The rest of them, I don't think the rest of them are panic signings. I think Jacob Ramsey was a player who's Eddie Howe's been linked with for a long time. So I don't think that's a panic signing. Could argue Ramsdale was a little bit than at Trafford. So I don't know what was anything of that one, maybe.
Well,
it was an easy fix, wasn't it? He was doing all of it himself, and he lost out on Trafford, and he needed another goalkeeper. Because Dubravka, I think, went quite early, didn't he? And I think that was a safe choice to get him on loan. Could be fantastic, and then he's a bargain at 20 mil, or he just sits on the bench and doesn't aspire to get in ahead of Pope, and you let him go back at the end of the season. I think that was stopgap. But I mean, I think Ramsdale's played pretty well.
He is. He's
played pretty well.
Fall for the equaliser on Sunday, but yeah.
I think for £4 million loan signing and okay, 100 grand a week wages, I think it was a bit of a, as Wynn would say, kick the can down the road and just gave us a season to assess, and maybe we'll go back for Trafford. We'll see. But like I think Ian said earlier, we're going to need about 10 players the way we're going. So yeah, it's a bit. It's going to be a tough. This is going to be a tough window, by the way.
I'm not sure there's time to get enough in and out. That's my point. Is that we might get into next season with 6 new players in the books, but still trying to accommodate Willock, trying to accommodate Murphy, trying to accommodate probably not Emilcraft, but we'll still have some lame ducks that we need to play.
This is why turning down like that bid from Fulham in January for Willock, £20 million, like. You've got to be ruthless. You've got to be ruthless in that situation. You should accept that. I love Willock. He was one of my favourite players for years. He's not the same player anymore, unfortunately.
He's no longer Willoquinho.
He's not Willoquinho, is he? Unfortunately, obviously he gave us the PSG game. Where he was brilliant.
On Sunday, that was the icing on the cake for me. When he got the ball on the left wing and took it down the left wing and just kicked it into.
And he just ran out of play.
What?
That was bizarre. And it's one of those weird ones where he unfortunately had his purple patch on loan. If he'd had it any other time, you'd go, oh yeah, that was a purple patch. But he did it on loan. He got 8 goals in 13 games. And
weirdly, I do disagree actually, because I think he scored goals, but I think he became a much better player when he joined permanently. I think.
Do you think?
Yeah, much better player. He didn't score as many goals, but if you go back to when we finished 4th, that combination between him and Joe Linton, second half of the season, Willock was absolutely unbelievable. He tortured so many teams. He was a massive part of why we finished 4th that season. I mean, you think about the pass against Tottenham, his performance against Everton away, he ripped them apart. He was so good in that second half of the season, and it was that little dovetail with Joe Linton. He became a much better player. Under Steve Bruce, he just scored some goals, which was massively important. He kept us in the Premier League. But under Howe, in that first sort of season and a half, before his first Achilles injury, he became an excellent player. I think he should have been in the England team at that point, to be honest, because he was playing that well, in my opinion. But
And I don't think it was any coincidence that at that time that you're talking about, that was when we had Dan Burn at left back and we had the best defence in the league, because the pair of them were actually, there was nothing getting through the left-hand side really for Dan to deal with. And when the did, he was there just to slap him up.
There was that game against Arsenal 0-0, what Arsenal fans still complain about, where Howe put Willock and Joe Linton and Byrne on that left-hand side, and we just killed the game. We just shut down that right-hand side because they couldn't get through entirely. So, yeah, that's what I think with Willock. But unfortunately, you're at the point where we should have sold him already. We haven't, and now you're in a position in the summer where you might get half that maybe. The 20 million that was offered, but that brings us on to go for it, Win.
Was that saying with your love of Willock? Have you took your wedding vows, Jack? Willocky and you, not Willocky and you, Pillocky.
Look, he's not the same player he was, but I don't think anyone can deny to me that if you look back on that time, he was genuinely brilliant for us.
Yeah, and him and G7 on the left, yeah.
Yeah, he was a key part of the team. But that brings us on to what Keith Downey has been saying. So, transfer update from Keith Downey says that Newcastle will look to sign a striker in the summer. Newcastle have also, none of the players have told Newcastle that they want to leave. Also, Waldemar has been told that in pre-season he will be started used further forward. Finally, and also there's going to be as many up to 8 players leaving, and there will be a new goalkeeper arriving. So plenty to get stuck into there. I suppose we should start with the fact that we're looking for another striker. £125 million, and they want another striker. So I'll open the floor up to whoever wants to go on that one.
Well, we need a new striker. That's the thing. I mean, we've got. I think Faltermata is a good player, but I think we'll get rid of Asula, and I think we'll probably end up keeping Vissam just because I think it will be like, well, he's going to be better next season. I don't think anyone would be willing to pay any money. So I think but we need someone else, don't we? We need a different type of player, and then we could maybe play Faltermata as a number 10. But I don't know why we're waiting until next season. If that's true, that report. Till pre-season to play him further up, just do it now. I think. Just try now.
Yeah, I think that's sorry. I think to be fair, I think that's more about just like for actually settling in for the rest, for the start of next year. I'm sure in the rest of the season, I do think once Bruno's back, we'll see Waldemar back in a forward position at least, because I do think he's been kind of filling in for Bruno, I suppose. But yeah,
and I think we've really. I understand moving players around because our midfield players have been missing. Bruno and Miley are the two kind of notable absences. Those two have been fantastic when they played this season. So, he's tried different stuff, and it seemed like it might be a good idea at first, but quite quickly it became evident this is not really working. And I think we've got to move on from that experiment now. Stop playing strikers in midfield. And just see, I wouldn't mind playing Asula on the right wing, maybe. That would be, if you want to move strikers around.
You know what? He'd cause a bit more havoc than Murphy.
Yeah, a crack.
Because I mean, they scored that goal against Man United from cutting in from the right hand side. And also, he scored a goal last season like that as well against Bromley, was it, in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
It was kind of the same thing.
That was from the left wing, wasn't it?
No, that was.
No,
I'm
that
pretty
was
sure that was the right wing on his left
from
foot.
the right.
Yeah.
It was 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago
Was it
that
2
he scored
seasons
that.
ago?
I think so,
Was
yeah.
it 2 seasons ago?
When did we play Bromley in the 3rd round?
That was last season, but I might be wrong. No,
I can't
fair
remember.
enough.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of a striker, has anyone got a name? Now, my colleague at TalkSport, Alex Crook, is reporting that Newcastle are interested in Liam Delap again. For 40 million quid.
I mean, how could Chelsea make a 10 million profit?
He scored 1 goal this season in the Premier League.
1 goal.
He's not bad. He's good at
If there had any other fella come on at centre forward, Chelsea would not have lost at home 1-0. They probably would have beat us 2-1.
I think
Delap missed 2 or 3 sitters. I don't know. I think there must be another Brobby out there in Europe, and our sporting director who's been full-time researching that, should have a file full of strikers under 30 million that are under the age of 23 that we should be sounding out and having a little shortlist of. Bring 2 in. Bring a 19-year-old in as well, and let's build a squad. Let's have the squad that can develop in here, so that if the first one we get goes off for 125 million in 3 years, then we've already made replacements stepping in. You know what I mean? That's how you build a squad, isn't it? You don't go and spend over the top buying Premier League proven players who are already at their peak. But they need replacing very quickly. That's not how to do it. It's not how to put your cloth. You need to be smart with it all, the way Sunderland were, for example. Their squad's doubled in value by them ending up mid-table in the Premier League for a season. Chelsea are after their goalkeeper.
Was our insane get Osimhen?
Was as well. Was the spelling of Osimhen was very interesting, but look, Osimhen.
We know who you mean.
Osmosis.
Yeah, we do. You know what I mean? I've already said that. I think Osimhen would be an unbelievable signing, but I don't know if that's going to happen. His wages, we're not going to have Champions League football to offer him, unfortunately.
No. The one I'd really like is Marmouche, but I think it's impossible. But I think he'd be fantastic.
Stop scoring against us.
Yeah, I just think he's such a good player.
Yeah, he's a really good player.
And he's got pace, he's tricky, he's a good finisher. But I don't know how often he plays when Haaland's fit.
Not very often.
Well, maybe that's an outside chance, but I think he'd be brilliant.
That's an interesting shout. I like that, actually. I really like Marmouche. Mainly just so, again, he'd stop scoring against us. 7 goals against us. 7! He only joined last January. What's that about? Stop scoring against us, mate. What have we done to you? But yeah, I think Marmouche should be an interesting one, actually. Win, you got anyone?
I think let Wilson work his magic. Let's see if we can unearth some diamond on the continent that nobody's ever heard of. A bit like Isak, perhaps. And let's go for, I don't know about you, but I hadn't heard of Isak when he signed for us.
You hadn't heard of Isak?
Hand on heart, no.
Really?
Really?
Wow. I definitely heard of him, but he'd had a bad season. That was the thing. He'd had a bad season for such
a good time.
If you remember at the time, it was Nunes who the talk was that we were going to get. And
I wouldn't be surprised if we're back in. I wouldn't be surprised if we're back in for him, actually.
I wouldn't mind Nunes.
That's just what I was going to come on to.
Nunes at all.
Because I wouldn't mind Nunes at all, and I think you could probably get him for a reasonable amount of money.
40 million, I think they said. Ivan Toney.
Ivan Toney. I like him.
Ivan Toney is a bit old, but he must have a point to prove coming back to Newcastle.
Very good. He's on 400 grand a week. All right.
Yeah, but that, to be fair, that's in Saudi, isn't it? So he knows for a fact he's got it. If he wants to, improve his career, he's going to have to.
Well, the issue he's got though is the tax. So if he comes back within the tax year, he'll have to pay 50% of that money back. So I think that's why Tony's kind of stuck out there for a little bit longer.
Only in that tax period, though.
Yeah, only in that tax period. So
he comes back in June. He's got from April. He's got 3 months worth of that money that he pays half of.
Yeah.
So he'll just have to retain 200,000 a week. Never mind.
That's
200,000 a year.
And give him a nice little signing on for you, 5 million.
You're the financial expert, Ian, so you'll know better than me. But am I not right in saying that the two, if you come back within the 2 years, it's not just that 3 months in that tax period that it refers to. It refers to the whole contract. I'm pretty sure. I'll bound to your superior knowledge.
Right. There might be special rules relating to footballers, but certainly you've got tax years, haven't you? In this country, you've got tax years. I worked for 6 years in Poland, and I had to account for my earnings in Poland. This English taxman, wasn't interested in all in what I made. and I was back to see the kids every month. But it had nothing to do with him because I was a Polish taxpayer.
Right.
And I know that if you go to Saudi, there is a tax regime. It just happens to be 0%. So all of that money he's had last year, if he was a oil and gas engineer, I'm sure that would be his money. And if he came back, he wouldn't get taxed on what he got paid on last year's contract. It might be different for footballers. I don't know, but no, if he comes into this country in June, um, he'll have to do his tax return up to from
I'm sure
the
I read
6th
somewhere.
of
In
April.
fact,
Yeah.
it might
When
even have been.
you make it's because of Gerrard, so that's the reason Gerrard
And
didn't take the Rangers job.
and
When
also
yeah,
Jordan Henderson
Jordan Henderson as well. Yeah, Jordan
took
Henderson. That's
the
why he went
hit.
to Ajax, and then he took the hit. Yeah, yeah.
So
No. This is very yeah. So what happened with Gerrard is he was going to take the Rangers job when they sacked Russell Martin, and then basically he dug into it and found out that he was going to have to pay millions and millions of pounds in tax if he came back within a certain time frame. So he decided he wasn't going to take
I'm sure it's
the
2
Rangers
years.
job. Yeah. So that's an interesting point. So maybe I'm trying to think when Tony left. He left last summer, didn't he?
Summer before last.
No, the
Summer
summer before.
before.
Summer before.
Yeah,
Summer
yeah,
before.
I
Okay,
think it
well
might
you
be
kind of. Oh, well,
2
you're at the
years
2
could be
You're at the 2 years. You know what? Then I won't be surprised if Tony does return to England. Then actually,
In the second
this
part of the summer
I rate
transfer
him.
window.
this summer.
Yeah, I think he would. He's obviously a goal scorer, isn't he? Questionable attitude and personality and character, but
Yeah, but
he
he's
is.
a probby.
He's a goal scorer. Yeah,
Well,
and he's a
But
powerhouse.
he's got the strength as well, man.
Great penalty
Everybody
taker
says
too.
I'm a dinosaur wanting a proper centre forward. Yeah, but Tony's a proper centre forward.
He's another one that
Yeah.
we let slip through the net, isn't he? There's been a few.
Oh, so many.
One of Rafa.
So,
Couple of super chats here. Sam Campbell. When was the last time the Mackhams won a cup?
1970,
70,
FA Cup.
73.
73 was it? 1973.
Yeah, before
Yeah.
we got the final. And was I saying Ivan, Tony, and Wissa? Yeah, magic combo.
Well, you can get Visser out, aye, but yeah, I'll have Ivan Tony. Say
swap.
goodbye. Gone. Goodbye. Yeah, we have a swap. Yeah, go on. Al-Ali, you can have Visser. We'll have Tony. Yeah. Darwin Núñez was an interesting shout because I think he has been cut out of the Al Hilal squad.
Really?
So yes, he has been cut out of the Al Hilal squad.
Yes.
I can't remember who they signed. Oh, they signed Benzema, I think it was. So the rules are a certain number of foreign teams, and they decided that Darwin Núñez isn't going to be part of the squad anymore. So that is definitely one that will be in play now. Darwin Núñez,
Except he again would have to rescind an awful lot of money. Although
he's not been there for that. He's not been there for that long.
He's Spanish,
He's
so
not-
it wouldn't necessarily
He's
fall into
Uruguayan,
our...
Uruguayan, yeah.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm not
sorry.
sure.
So
I'm not-
wouldn't fall into UK.
No, I think he'd be fine.
That's good.
I think that Darwin Núñez would be a fun signing because I don't know, maybe as a neutral, I always enjoyed him because you had no idea what he was going to do. But
Not a
maybe
great
as a,
goal.
He was
Not as
always
a
a bloody
fan.
genius against Newcastle, though. Didn't score some great
his record
goals.
at St James's Park is unbelievable, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Maybe you get him back in. Maybe you get him in for that. But I would. But we're talking about them. I'd rather them than go down Liam Delap. I think that would be a pretty underwhelming signing. To be
Do you not think
brutally-
that could be a Bellamy type signing? Someone who just comes to us and kind of flourishes.
I would hope so. I
He's
would
quite
hope.
good at Ipswich, wasn't he?
I know. I've just started.
But I know what you mean. It doesn't get you off your seat, does it, Delap?
No, and he turned us down already. Like we wanted him last summer.
Yeah.
He turned us down already. It's an
That
interesting one. But
strikes
then-
me as a son of Chris Wood. That.
Son of Chris Wood.
He'll have
Yeah.
He'll have a purple patch somewhere, but then there'll be nothing either side of it. And he probably did that
Yeah.
when he went up with Ipswich, and we've seen the nothing now. But yeah, that's where I place him. I might be wrong, of course.
Sam
That's
Campbell,
interesting.
super chat. Thank you, Sam. Champions League
Yeah,
last
Sam.
16, one cup, up the marks. How many Kane shirts would we sell, Mr. Adidas? Would sell a lot.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah,
I was
that,
all
that would be the dream, wouldn't it? If we got
I
Harry
was
Kane.
all, I was all for Harry Kane last season. You know, we could have got him for 60 million. Okay, you know, you're talking 500 grand a week, so another 25 million wages. But that's so for a season, it's going to cost you 85 million. That he could pay for himself in that one season.
Well,
He could have
well,
paid for
yeah.
himself. He's
Well,
certainly
obviously,
done that. He's certainly done that for Bayern.
Yeah, I mean, the
No,
only way
no.
you could sell it is
we had no chance getting him.
the only way you could sell it is come here and break Shearer's record at Shearer's club. That's the only way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is the only way you could. That is the only way you could sell it.
Yeah,
No.
but how way, man?
Yeah, you know, I'd love. I'd love. Come on, man. I'd love Lewandowski as well. Why not? You know, come on.
Maybe
Kane.
No, I wouldn't have Lewandowski. I would have had Harry Kane. No, in a heartbeat.
What is this madness? They would have no chance of signing him. Come on, gotta be a little bit realistic.
Money talks.
It does, but he is playing for Bayern Munich, who
Yeah.
are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We're not. You know, I think Bayern Munich will win the Champions League this season. I absolutely do. So
He's not playing in the Prem.
yeah, but I don't think they're bothered.
in exchange.
Well, Bayern want Voldemort.
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly, actually, Nicholas Jackson. Anyone take him? Because we were linked with him
I think he's good.
in the
Again,
summer.
not a great finisher, is he? But other parts of his game are really good.
Yeah.
He's a bit like Nunes, similar sort of player in a way, like in the way they play. They're not bad footballers, but they just lack that little bit of nuance in front of goal, I think. So, I think we need someone who's clinical if we're going to get a striker. And someone who can hold the ball up really well, because we don't have that at the moment.
No,
It must
no,
be, we had on our list 3 years ago Ekatike.
we
Yeah.
did.
That
Then he
on
turned
his-
us down again.
On
times.
Wilson's list must be stacked full of these 18, 19, 20-year-old strikers that we can get for 20 mil, and they can come in and come on as, and show what they can do. And that's who we need to get, because you can get 2 or 3 of them. Make sure, hedge your bets a little bit. You can get
Who's
2 or
one?
3 of them.
Who am I thinking of? Samu.
Oh, Samu, yeah. He's a good
Yeah,
player.
Samu
I
looks
believe
good.
he's injured at the moment. Let me have a check.
Did he get a ligament injury or something? A cruciate?
Yeah, I believe he's injured
out
at the
for a
moment,
while, wasn't
which
But,
is not good.
But if the only thing with that, Ian, is I suppose if we got 3, let's say 2 or 3 really good 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, we still probably need an experienced striker, don't we, to carry the load for at least 1 year. And you just bring these kids in now and again while they develop. Like the first season with Isak, we had Wilson banging them in, 18 goals in 30 games. And that helped because Isak wasn't quite there, but he had a year and he developed and then became that top player the next season. So
I was assuming we're going to retain Baltimore, and because nobody will take Wissa, that we'll have
Yeah.
those 2 to do
well,
that.
that's true.
Yeah.
But then
Look,
someone in the comments is just saying Sean Neve should be given a go. Why not? Why is Sean Neve not being given a
Has
go?
anyone seen him play much in the youth team?
yeah,
I saw him. I saw him.
it's
His 3 touches against Karabag looked really good.
3 times.
Well,
No,
apart from the header.
yeah. He does look like he is talented 100%. There's sometimes are players that come through in the youth teams that sort of stand out. I do feel like he stands out. He's trained with the first team a lot. If the season, I suppose, if we're not in European contention with sort of 4-5 games to go, I would like to see him start some games. I think why not? I don't know if Eddie will do that though, because you got to even think about with Miley. Miley only really got played because he had no choice, basically, in the end. And then Miley turned into a great standout star for us. And Fabrizio Romano has just reported actually that we're in talks over a new contract for Miley, so at least there's some positive there.
Did actually
I think
make his debut at 16 though, didn't he? He made his debut the season before.
17 or whatever it was. Yeah,
I
but
think it was 16 when he made it. I think it was the year before and then we didn't have injuries, so he did put him in. He did give him a half.
Oh, is it like initially made his debut? Yeah, sorry.
Chelsea,
Yeah.
like the Chelsea away,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
last day of the season. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Well,
So
there's Mason Miley's in the reserves at the minute, who Lewis says is a much better player than he is, apparently.
I know, I heard
I've
this.
seen
I keep
very
hearing
much
this. Although
Mason Miley's
apparently better than Lewis. I'm telling you what, if he is better than Lewis.
Sapia Ord saying Delap, Jackson. Who's the other one? Sorry, got it back up. Delap, Jackson, such ambition. Perfect for Howe.
Yeah, look, I'm not a big fan of signing Chelsea's cast-offs either, to be brutally honest. But I don't know. And then
We've done okay with Hall and Livramento so far, to be fair.
well, Hall wasn't. I wouldn't say he's necessarily a cast-off for Chelsea. I think they realised they made a mistake on that one. But hey, that is what happens. But I mean, the goalkeeper situation that is been a mess for all the year. I think Nick Pope has cost us about 12 points, to be honest. And Ramsdale, I feel more comfortable in possession when we got Ramsdale, but he's actually pretty bad at saving shots. But so is Nick Pope now. So I think a lot of money needs to be spent on a goalkeeper.
I was right behind him in the Leazes end when Romero had that fantastically accurate overhead kick to get the point
9 times.
Oh God,
my word! Honestly, I don't know. I thought they were just watching it because they didn't think it was going to cross the line. But he went down in installments, didn't he? Still getting nowhere near it. To be fair to him, I think he's played really well. I thought he played really well in the big games that he got brought in.
Against Man United is very good, yep.
And amazingly, you couldn't really fault him at any of Barcelona's 7 on that humiliation. He also makes a fantastic save in the last minute against Sunderland, but unfortunately, it drops straight back at Robbie again, who gets the winner. The first save is a fantastic reflex save. So I quite like Ramsdale. He's been called up to the England squad. So, me and Tommy Tuchel have the same.
Well, do you think
I would get rid of Pope and maybe sign Ramsdale and look
for
someone to compete with him. Sorry?
Is Pope out of contract this summer? Because obviously... Oh, well, then maybe is there a scenario, perhaps this is a bit of a long shot, where Pope gets sold, Ramsdale gets signed, and Trafford or somebody gets signed, and those two fight it out as the next two goalkeepers.
So I think that's a fair point. I mean, for me, I would not sign Ramsdale permanently because it's £16 million that I think we could use somewhere else, and I would sell Pope as well. Being a great goalkeeper for us, but. In terms of actually Premier League goalkeepers, I don't know where he ranks for us. I think Given was better. I think Kroll was better. Dubravka was better as well. But still, he's still been really good. And made that amazing save in the Carabao Cup final as well from Jones, of course, that essentially won us the game in the end. And I would actually bring Vlachodimos back as the number 2 and sign number 1.
Really?
Because he's been playing well for Sevilla. They do want to sign him, but I don't think the option to buy is very high. So. I would actually bring him back as the number 2 and then sign number 1. You then don't have to spend the money on Ramsdale. You sell Pope and then you get a number 1 in. Now, Trafford's the obvious one because he should be here already. But we've been linked with Kerbal and Robin Rieser as well. I don't know a lot about Rieser. Kerbal always plays well for Dortmund in the Champions League. He's a bit more experienced. But I think we can all agree that a new number 1 goalkeeper is kind of essential, really. To be honest,
I think the thing Forest fans used to say about Vlachodimos was he was just too weak for the Premier League. He's got a very slim frame, and he would get sort of knocked about and bullied a little bit. But I don't know if he's toughened up a bit. He's obviously adapted to the Spanish league quite well, but it is different. I think for goalkeepers.
The trouble with Vlachodimos, contract wise and PSR wise, is that he's still standing us at about 20 million on the books. Because we effectively paid 27 million for him in the deal that got Forest out of their trap, and we gave them Anderson, which effectively we got 15 million for Anderson, which is a jewel. So that was when that was done. So there's no way, or Seville are going to pay enough for even, clear the books. So it would make perfect sense for him to come back if he would come back, of course.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure he wants to play regular football, but equally, I'm sure as the number 2, he get to play cup games, and you're always there if there's an injury. I think that would make sense, financial sense, and football sense. The goalkeeper that we sign needs to be in the net for a long time. In my opinion, these ones, this situation has gone on for too long now. I think that even if you look at last season, Dubravka came in and did really well, and then they got dropped for Nick Pope. And yeah, Pope, as I said, made the good save in the Carabao Cup final, but I thought Pope ended the season pretty poorly again. So it is a situation that needs resolving.
I just don't think you're going to get a better keeper than Ramsdale for 16 million. And that's
why that's
the deal we can do. I don't see. But just a couple of super chats. Was I saying how many lap shirts would you sell, Mr. Umbro? And I think that was another one there. And Sam is saying, sorry, but Barca's goalie is rubbish. We're linked with them ourselves.
He looked shaky against us, didn't he?
You haven't got to see it. No, he's not rubbish.
He's not rubbish. He looked a bit shaky against us in the first leg, I thought. He was flapping around a bit, but he's good with his feet, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say about Ramsdale,
wasn't great.
Ramsdale does give our back four a lot more confidence. They think nothing at all now of passing the ball to Ramsdale, whereas they were petrified having to pass the ball back.
But is that the limit of our ambition?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Because he won't come in as number 2, I don't think. And yeah, it's a dilemma, because if Man City play hardball with Trafford, and then if these goalkeepers from overseas are going to cost 30-40 million, we might be like, our hands might be again tied. At least this time you've got a fee that you know what it is. It's not going to be renegotiated. And 16 million, like you say, that's not that much these days for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I just think the Trafford deal. I think Tino will go to Manchester City. I think Trafford could then come.
You think a little trade? Then we should get some, surely, like maybe 30 million in Trafford or something.
Yeah, I think Trafford. Look, Trafford was telling everyone last summer that he was joining Newcastle. It is the deal that was there to be done. It is ridiculous that we didn't get it done, because I know Manchester City had the buyback clause, but they weren't even interested in a goalkeeper until they watched Edison drop stinker after stinker in the Club World Cup, and then they were like, oh, actually, you know what, maybe we should get a new goalkeeper. Maybe Edison's done. I don't think they would have matched the buyback clause if we just put the bid in that Burnley wanted at the start of the window. Some people don't rate him. I don't know how you can't rate him. I know he had a bit of a shaky start for Man City, but we've then seen how well he played in the Carabao Cup final. We saw well he played against us in the Carabao Cup semi-final, 2 legs as well. Both in terms of passing out from the back, saving shots, commanding his area. He has got it all. And I'd be willing to spend a lot of money on him to make him the number 1, because I think he'd be number 1 for years and years and years.
Yeah, I also agree. He's 23, isn't he?
I didn't rate him till I watched him.
That's fair.
It was the League Cup first leg of the semi-final.
Yes, we tipped the header on the crossbar and stuff.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, two great saves, and they won 2-0. Scored in the 9th minute of injury time or something, and that put us out of the game.
How many oranges do we need to sell to get Nicodemus from Seville?
Quite a few, I think. But the other part of the Keith Downey thing is that up to 8 players are going to be leaving. So I guess, who do we think those 8 players are? And I'm going to sort of take out your Ramsey, because it's the contract, he's on loan, and I'm going to take out like Emil Kraft because his contract's up. But yeah, so but other players. You think Burn will leave?
Burn will stay. Trippier will go. Burn will stay.
Yeah. Burn will stay. He's not, but Burn's not out of contract, so
he'll
stay.
He'll be back.
Trippier's out of contract.
I think
Shah out of contract.
I think Shah will stay. I think they'll give him another year.
I think Shah might get a new 1-year deal. Yeah,
I'm trying to think who else. There is Target.
But he
Target.
doesn't want a 1-year deal, does he?
He doesn't
He
want a
wants a
1-year
2-year
deal.
He wants a
He's
2-year
30
deal. That's the
34. Oh, yeah, man, fab.
I think we can say Target and Kraft. We've already said,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
I think Willock. This is not thinking about like Tonali, Tino, etc. But I think Tino might go. And then who else do we think of the strikers? Well, we're all saying that
Murphy's entering the last year of his contract. As should he don't want to
I,
extend that.
I,
So
I,
if
th-
he's
I
got
think
to
you,
go,
I think you should sell Murphy. To be
and
honest,
Willock's in the
Murphy,
same,
Willock.
same boat.
Yeah.
Tino maybe. I hope we don't, but I think that might be what we do.
I think Tino was kind of a done deal, to be brutally honest. In a lot of ways, it just feels like the noise is there, and if you get 65 million for him,
Yeah, is he a bit overrated? Do you think as a player? Like I think he's really good at left back. At right back, I'm not so sure. Like he looks a bit shaky.
So I love him defensively. 1v1 defending. He's absolutely brilliant, and the way he carries the ball is brilliant as well. And his passing's good, but he can't really cross it. Like, that is one thing.
He can't shoot.
Which is why it feels like it'll work at Man City. Because if you think about Kyle Walker at Man City, he didn't really cross the ball. They just used him to essentially recycle possession. But he's also rapid to get back and cover, and also he can dribble with the ball. So it kind of makes sense for Man City. The way we play, we need we put more crosses in the box than basically anyone else, don't we? So we kind of need our fullbacks to be able to put a cross in. So I think I would
it's a
go
good
with
deal.
nothing but well wishes for me. As
Very
well.
injury.
I don't like his injury record, to be honest.
That's
and
fair.
if we can
Yeah.
double our money on him or more, I mean,
Don't
we
put
can get
double.
other right backs. There's a lot of good right backs
And
out
what
there.
about Asula? If
I think
surely he's
I think I could see Asula leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll
He'd
go.
be a rubbish right
we
back
could
win.
make some money there.
Yeah, Willock.
Well,
We'll
yeah.
get.
Sula might go.
I think we'll get 15 for Willock, maybe 12, 15. So there's money to be made here and there if they sell some players. That'll load the decks up for a few signings, maybe.
Yeah, well, I
So-
think there's a war chest there anyway. Still, I believe.
Yeah, there is.
well,
There is.
We've got a champion season's worth of money to go
And the net spend
the
wasn't
coffers.
mad, was it? With the Isaac
And the net spend wasn't because we've still got the Isaac money. We spent what we had without the Isaac money.
I don't know about that, but we sold Kelly, didn't we, in that window for 20 million and Longstaff for 15. So add that as well. So there was a little bit of incoming there. And Kelly's probably the best sale we've made in the last few years in terms of just getting a player for free and selling for 20 million. That was quite well done, actually.
Quite incredible, actually, to be fair, to make that much profit actually on Kelly. But yeah, it feels like for me, no matter what happens, because you could Eddie Howe in, Eddie Howe out, whatever. I think it's time for this squad to be refreshed. They've just reached the end of their cycle, I think. And it happens to all of the best teams. It happens to Guardiola's teams. It happens to Klopp's teams. It happened to Ferguson's teams.
And Jack, what do you think of Bruno and Tonali? What do you reckon? Do you think those guys will stay?
I think Tonali will go. I
Do you?
think his agent is annoying me so much. The disrespect he is showing in Newcastle is an absolute disgrace. Actually, when you think about the way that the club supported him during his ban, the way the fans have supported him during his ban, and then we've got him on transfer deadline day offering him to Arsenal. And then we've got a couple of weeks ago him coming out and saying the plan from whenever he moved to Newcastle was always to join a top club.
Yeah.
I find it absolutely horrendous, actually, to be honest. And if you're not going to sack someone like that, then I kind of feel like maybe the head's not exactly in it. I think Tonali, I'll always remember as last season he was one of the best midfielders I've ever seen play in black and white. I think this season,
Not so
he's
much.
been up and down, hasn't he? He's been up and down.
Yeah,
been
I
up and
think
down.
fluctuated.
He's been up and down.
I think he's been showing up like Bruno's form has been, when he's been fit, has been so good, like the goals and everything. And when you look at the disparity, last season they were both excellent, but this season there's been a bit of a disparity there with Tonali dropping off. So you do notice it when you got those. They're arguably our two best players. You might throw Hall in there as well, and yeah, you need them to be at their best for the team to really flourish. I think so. Yeah, I think you've probably made a good point. If there's all
Just
this
to
noise, no smoke without
bring
fire.
bring it back full circle then. Let's say we're buying 8 or 9 first team or first team squad players. We're going to sell a load of players. We might be spending 300 million. Do you trust Howe to do that this summer, or do you get a Pochettino in to do it? Will he attract the right players for us?
Get a
You want to
Mourinho.
change the manager.
I'd like
Mourinho,
Mourinho.
Pochettino.
So Mourinho was actually mentioned on the latest episode of Inside the Toon, which obviously TalkSport's Newcastle show, weekly Newcastle show. And Sean Custis mentioned Mourinho. He said he thinks he'd take it. I disagreed. I think he would take it, but I disagreed with him being the choice as the Newcastle manager. I don't think he's got it anymore, personally, tactically. I think he'd blow the club up within a couple of seasons, to be brutally honest, as he does most places he goes.
I would prefer Pochettino.
It's one of those ones where I like the idea of Mourinho because he's always talked about he's a little magpie and stuff like that, and he does actually genuinely love the club. But one, he never wins at St James's Park, which is an issue.
I'll go probably next season for 19 league games.
That is an issue. But I just think that he's not at the level he once was.
You could argue that Newcastle always win at St James's Park when he's there.
Well, you could argue that, yeah.
He's a marquee name, isn't he? So if you
yeah, carry on, go for it.
If you bring in a marquee name like that, does that raise the profile of the club to a point of okay, look at where we are now? You know, I get
that, and I do get that, and I think that what we'll say, I think if the Saudis decide that this is the end for Eddie, I think they will look. I think they'll go for. I do actually think they will go for Mourinho. To be honest, I think they will go for Mourinho because I think they want Newcastle to be on that global stage. And look, it might be fun. It'd be a roller coaster, wouldn't it? I don't know how much it would enjoy, but it would be a roller coaster.
Stay humble, lads. Stay humble. I don't know who that's particularly addressed to, but
well, what about Emery then? Like, I know that's a bit of a weird shout, but there was something said about he might be a bit disillusioned with the financial restraints at Villa. So maybe that's a long shot, but he was on the shopping list before, or on the short list, I should say. So would they go back? Would he consider it now, or is that done?
I think Emery interesting one. I just think Emery's got a lot of respect for Aston Villa, and I don't think he'll actually manage in the Premier League another team. Actually, I think he'll win the Europa League with them this season, and then I think maybe he might leave in the end of the season, having won a European trophy for them and another Europa League for him, and then I don't think he manages in the Premier League again. I suggested Cesc Fabregas if we're going to be sort of ambitious, because he will definitely manage in the Premier League at some point. I don't know if anyone has seen much of Como or what have you, but there is no way his team should be where they are in Serie A. He has got them battering all of the best teams week on week. His football he plays is exciting, it's energetic, it's modern. It would be and he's a statement as well, by the way. He would, because of his name as a player, I think you would get yourself up on another caliber of club, be having someone like Cesc Fabregas. Sebastian Hoeneß is an interesting one from Stuttgart, mainly because he got the best out of Walter Marta.
That's an interesting one. Okay.
Yeah, Sebastian Hoeneß is someone I've considered. Ultimately, I'm still Eddie Howe in, but things need to change. And one of the things that needs to change is that ruthlessness with the squad. In my opinion, I think that the loyalty he's had to a lot of players this season, they've let him down, and he needs to stop picking them over and over again. And if he can't learn from that, then unfortunately the club's not going to go anywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think it's good that you're still backing Eddie Howe. We'll see how the last 7 games go. He might be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and he usually finds a way. He's a survivor
I
of
believe that DK. I believe that DX. I believed it. I did. I thought
until
we
the
got
Sunderland
Champions
game.
League, but that Sunderland game. I mean, if you can't get up for that game, how on earth are you going to get up to beat Bournemouth at home, who beat us 4-1 last year, by the way? How are you going to and 3-1 at their place?
I
How are
think
you
it's
going to
the
get up to
manner
beat
of the
beat,
football,
beat
isn't it?
Brighton at home?
Is
These are
is the
bogey teams.
yeah.
Just
And
out
the
of
stand,
interest, Sam there with a super chat saying, how many were there for the 4-1 versus PSG? I think he's probably referring to the fact that we're wanting to ditch all these players who played in that game.
yeah, but that
No.
was two and a
No,
half
the
years
time
ago.
moves on.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't.
exactly.
I
Time
mean,
moves on.
Callum
You
Wilson
know,
was around at that
but
time.
still, I wouldn't be in
Come
favour
on.
of Alan Shearer lining up at number 9 either.
Yeah,
That's the thing. You can still appreciate them for what they've done. It doesn't have to be like they have to leave on bad terms.
yeah,
They all leave as legends, but it's just a recognition of their time's come.
yeah.
If Newcastle are going to keep, I support Newcastle United. I don't support Dan Burn. Do you know what I mean? So
When you think about
one-
Colaccini or someone like that, he was brilliant, and then those last couple of seasons, he just stayed
Exactly.
on too long, and it was like, oh,
Yeah.
this guy's gone. So we've got to be a bit more brutal, I think, and a bit more, straight to the point. Sometimes players
Quickly,
they
quickly
run.
get these super chats in
Yeah,
before
no
we're
problem.
finished.
Yeah,
Jody Dan saying, make of this what you will, but I've noticed on the Saudi NUFC supporters accounts on X keep
they keep
posting about
Mourinho.
Mourinho. Coincidence? Or do they know something?
Yeah.
And was us back again. De Zerbi, has he earned his stripes or is he a donkey? De Zerbi is a potential replacement, I assume he's talking about.
Fell out with all the Brighton players.
Yeah, I like De
Brian
Zerbi,
and
but
Marcel.
He's calling him De Zebri.
The Zebra.
De Zerbi.
Well, the Zebras.
You know,
the Zebra.
zebra stripes.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a bit of a hothead.
He
He
is.
is.
Just on the subject of super chat, listen, thanks everybody who's super chatted tonight. We've got Sam multiple times, Mickey Toon Army, Wazar, of course, in and out all the time, Chris the American, Mark, Borky, who else? What, Sam Campbell, again. Lovely, thank you very, very much. Jody Dan, again, thanks very much. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel.
Yeah, we've had some good
Yeah,
super
cheers.
chats tonight.
We've had some excellent super chats tonight.
Most of them having a go at Mighty Win, but that's all right.
That's all right. You pays
They
your
should just
money, you
tell-
has
they
your
should-
pop.
Should have been on the programme. They could have just done it for free. I haven't chosen to tonight, Win. You're all right, mate.
We'll wait till Bogey appears.
So, final words, Jack.
Final words, yeah. Well, look, we're going to an international break. This is what we'll say is this is what Eddie Howe does best, Monday to Friday. This is what he's brilliant at. They have to end the season well. I think if you finish in the bottom half of the table, no European football, I think there's going to be some serious questions asked. And I think when you've still got names like Mourinho floating around, I wouldn't be as convinced about Howe's future as I am at this moment in time. So let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can deliver. I'm backing him. But equally, he's got to prove us wrong because there's been numerous things that have gone wrong this season.
DX.
Yeah, fine.
International break, good thing or bad thing?
I think, well, it feels like kind of a good thing now because we can get this. I feel like the squad was running on fumes by the end of that run of games. I just think now Bruno coming back, hopefully by the end, when things resume, and Miley, fingers crossed, all those dead leg things dragging on. But hopefully, if we can get those two back and a bit more fitness into Tino and one or two others, then at least the side will be strong going into those final 7 games. And I don't have much hope for it, but to be honest, I agree. The bogey teams, Bournemouth and all this, but at least there's going to be a less walking wounded, let's say.
Ian? Good thing, bad thing?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, should be a good thing because the memory will fade of that agony. We'll probably all be back up for the Palace game, at least at the start, probably till half time. But there's still a lot to play for, isn't there? I mean, Fab Shah's got
Oh,
7
overhaul.
games to prove he's worth an extension to his contract or not. And yeah, it'd be good to see Bruno and Miley back in harness. But it's interesting stuff, isn't it? Oh, a lot of people circling. No one's
Sam,
mentioned that they're after Hall yet, as far as I know. I hope we can keep that.
Get him tied down to a 10-year
Sam
contract.
back
Yeah,
in
I
with a
know,
final
exactly.
word. Trust Eddie. Stay humble. Yeah. Personally, I
He
think
actually says stay humker.
does that mean
I'm
something?
going to stay
Oh,
humker.
right, sorry, I thought
No.
it might have been Yiddish or something. Never mind.
There's one more super chat.
Yeah.
They're still coming thick and fast for her again. Jack be, he's saying be humble, and he's saying Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack be, aye, exactly.
It's a carnage.
My worry is for the international break. Yeah, we've got the international break, which would be ideal to assimilate the players, develop a different style, etc. Problem is, all the players that needs to happen to are away, so he's not actually going to be working with them, and it just gives the time between now and Palace gives everybody more time to brood on the awful week we've just had. And it makes that Palace game all of a sudden have an awful lot more meaning than it maybe would normally have done.
I think they're all back after international week in a week's time. And we've got 2 weeks to train because we've got a free weekend when we come back, so we're out of the FA Cup. So there's 2 weeks to get ready for that Palace game.
Yeah.
You know, you'd hope Bruno and Miley and Shah were properly fit. You'd hope that they'd be working on stuff to be able to accommodate Voltemada as a centre forward. I mean, he must have read it. I know Eddie Howe doesn't follow socials, but somebody he knows must have done, and we'll be having a word.
Yeah, but he's his own man, isn't he? Anyway, Niall Powell's back in again with his Euros. Trust Mitchell, unfit for purpose. The famous quote from Mr. Mitchell before he left with his tail between his legs.
Right, and well, if we get started on Mitchell, I'll be here for another half an hour. Absolutely useless.
Yeah, I think that's what I think they're trying to keep. We're here for another half an hour.
Yeah.
Too much. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But the one thing that worries me just quickly about that game is whenever we've had a so-called must-win game, which it feels like we at least must go there and get something, because after that Sunderland game, we just don't turn up for them. Like the results have been terrible in those matches. When you think, oh yeah, now we're on a roll, Everton at home or Brentford, and we're within touching distance, and then pulls away again. So I'm hopeful, but I'm not going to be too optimistic. It's a hard game as well, Palace away.
Yep. Right, brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone joining us. As always, remember to like, subscribe to the channel. If you are not an NTTV member, please do consider signing up as well. £4.99. We hope you all have brilliant rest of your evenings and the 2 weeks without Newcastle playing, because I think that's what we all need. We'll see you later.